A word to the wise. We are an explicit podcast tackling content with adult themes as well as entering spoiler territory if you aren't caught up with us. This week, that would be through the third interlude of Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. Hey there, this is Cross.
And I'm PJ.
And I'm Ben.
And I'm Aaron.
And I'm Thomas. And we are Donuts and Dialogue, the weekly podcast where we stuff our faces with fried bread to distract us from the horrible sadness inflicted by the book we read. You should think of us as your fattening weekly book club.
Donuts and Dialogue.
We
That's
all
good.
bought donuts.
We did.
That's good.
And you can't have any.
No one let
PJ,
me know.
Ben, Aaron, what donuts are you eating today?
I have a maple
Ooh,
frosting cinnamon roll.
Oh,
Yeah.
looks delicious. I like the frosting part.
There's so much maple smell coming off of it. It smells so good.
That's why you said your cocktail smelled good just a minute ago. I hate everyone.
that was a
I
tease.
didn't even get it, and I knew we were doing this. I was like, "Oh, what is it?" Ben, what are we having?
We have chocolate Long Johns,
The log.
chocolate ice Long John, and man, it's taken a lot of self-control not to. I got this in the car, and like I was driving over here, I was
And hungover.
looking at it like I need to eat this.
I can picture it.
Thomas, what's the featured donut?
The featured donut is a Boston cream from the bakery. I live above a bakery, and it's Hatskill Mountain Bakery. Not that really matters to anybody
No
besides
free
me.
ads, bitch.
Well, it's a small. We do for the local businesses. I feel like we let it happen.
Okay.
And that's okay. It happens. It's literally the best donut I've ever had. It's incredible.
I'm
haven't had
impressed
a bite
that
of
you
this one
worked
yet.
so hard to get a donut and walked all the way downstairs.
I know.
Living above
I
a
had to go
bakery
down
is
3 times.
dangerous.
They were running behind today because they had a ton of people ordering sandwiches. But cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I'm having vodka lemonade.
God, Cross, you're such an alcoholic. We're
I
all
know.
wholesome donut eaters here.
Yeah, my bad. Today is our 7th episode that we'll be talking about chapters 45 through the third interlude in Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. But we did all the donuts, the cocktail donut.
I have a drink I want to talk about if I can.
Oh, sure.
It's
you are more
non-alcoholic.
than allowed.
But I am excited about
Sure.
it. Inspired by, I think, Andrew in the Discord. I'm not sure who it was. I forget now. But he had a chai lemonade Arnold Palmer type thing. And so I made
Oh.
one. I went to the coffee shop by me, got a chai concentrate, some ice, and limeade that I made. Hand juiced the limes and all that. And it is really weird, but it's really refreshing and delightful.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I'm not a big chai fan, though, but my husband would like that.
I like limeade, so I'll give it a shot.
It's the combination's nice because like it's a fancy chai concentrate, so it's like spicy and not super duper duper sweet. So it's good. So I like the earthy and then limeade tart.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
It's a good mix. It's a fun, exciting mix. Well, I'm happy to be back. I do have to forewarn anyone listening to this that I am still sick. So if I start to like wheeze in the middle of a sentence, I'm very well. I don't know if I should apologize, but you know what? I'm sorry you have to deal with it. So
Sorry. I do want to know, did you listen to the last episode and did you know about the donuts beforehand?
the episode isn't even out yet. So no, I hadn't listened to the last episode. The donuts was a complete surprise. The
Nice.
whole thing
He was
was a well
dying
kept secret.
laughing off camera.
Yeah.
It was funny. Or on camera, off mic.
I definitely, some of that was picked up. I was watching it go up and down, so you'll definitely hear
Hell
the
yeah.
laughter. Yeah. Just Discord cutting it out. But before we get too far here, let's talk about the chapters. What do you guys think of this week's reading?
Bummer, dude.
This is a tough one.
Uh-huh.
Very
I-
It felt to get people out of like their kidnapping, and that just came crashing down by the end of the week.
I don't like the senseless. I'm okay with like a main character dying. I'm not okay with it, but it was even worse than that because he's not even a main character. He's just a Jadeless kid. Fucked up, dude.
Yeah, I felt like the family feels like I was sharing that emotion at the end of that. It was just sucked.
Yeah, I didn't like any part of that. And the anxiety when they were fighting and like knowing something bad was going to happen.
They were like, he didn't die for anything. You know, he didn't die for the clan or anything like that. It was just some
fucking stupid
dumb luck thing. And it's just tragic.
Now I also hope all the clanless future people die horrible
Yeah,
deaths.
brand those motherfuckers.
Break all their arms and legs and then their neck. It's pretty brutal.
Barrow still somehow gets away. I felt less bad about it this time, but...
Well, I thought Barrow was actually going to... At first, I was like, oh, he's going to help Rue, and then we're going to, like... Barrow's going to be on our side, but he didn't really help.
And he he tries.
Yeah.
He does warn him.
I think if Torredino was
use KK.
Yeah, I think if they had like another minute, he probably would have gotten him. Maybe not out of there, but like closer to out of there. But it's just, time. Tough.
Also, Jade overexposure sounds horrible.
Yeah, I don't like having a sunburn and being really itchy, and it's kind of like that on 4,000.
Yeah.
I was completely caught off guard by that use of the 40 kilograms of cut jade.
I was like, that's diabolical.
But them shooting everybody and killing everyone, that was badass.
True.
The dread of like knowing what's coming and knowing what a week is going to look like is so weird. It's just like I went into this knowing. I'm going to quote Alan Tudyk from A Knight's Tale in this and just say pain. Lots of pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was, in the original layout of episodes, this was the one where it's like, all right, well, here comes all the wash of relief and then the like heartbreak of them all, the worstest. And, now we're here and we've got, go ahead.
I think we talked about that, right? We were like, it's gonna seem like, oh, fine, like good. And then it's just like the worst fucking ending.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys ever want us to like end a week on a high note sometime?
I do.
Ask me fondly.
Yeah, does the book end on a low
Great
note?
Question. Good news, not that much longer.
I hope not. I mean, you did say you liked the ending.
No, I said it was satisfying. I said we're not going to be here being like, oh, she left all these plots dangling.
Oh, okay. She kills everybody. There's no dangling plots when you're dead.
She's like, and then a meteor crashes into the earth. The end.
And the dinosaurs take over. Reverse.
Question mark?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm sad. Just like I don't.
Let's get into these chapters.
The donuts were supposed to help the sadness.
They did.
Take another shot.
Jesus.
My donut helped.
And it's gone.
Ben seems chipper.
So, Crossland. This all came about during the scene where Shay and Woon give their daughter fried bread to distract her from the massacre of the mice. So that's where this...
We were like, what? I was like, what is fried bread? And then we said funnel cakes. And then it was like, also donut.
Because we were like, imagine just like you could go to a drive-thru and get funnel cake. That'd be incredible.
And it was like, you can. It's called a donut. You'll hear it when you catch up.
Yeah,
on this week of Jade City.
Donuts and dialogue. Clever. Well done.
We do need a new logo now, though.
We'll need to come out with one for this episode for sure. I do want to say, just before we get into these chapters, that we are doing this a little bit differently. So as opposed to going every other, we've got kind of a particular order this week. With that, let's get into chapter 46, Valuable Things. We pick up with Wen, captured and vulnerable, being moved to a new location by Second Dog and his crew. After facing down the possibility of her death, she finds herself released to the care of Hami Tumashan and Vin, first fist of the clan. We then move to Shay, who proceeds to be locked in chains by a member of the Faltus clan and then brought to a bathtub to be interrogated. There she finds Dudo beaten and similarly bound before both are exposed to terrible amounts of jade. Whew! what a crazy moment to start the week on, just in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
These are some hard gangster motherfuckers.
It was this chapter, right, where he shoots the taco in the head, or was that last week?
That was
No,
last
that's
week.
yeah.
That was last week.
Oh, it stayed with me. That was fucked
It just
up.
lived. Yeah.
But good thing
Yeah.
good thing they released Wen, because she was listening and paying attention, she knew that they weren't gonna barter and release Shay, you know? So good thing she kept her wits about her and was able to like deduce that a new plan had to be put in place to save Shay, other than like giving them a bunch of cut Jade.
Yeah, she's really on top of it, especially like her sense of like understanding what people are doing and why is really, really sharp right now. Like her intuition about was it second dog or was it the other guy?
The younger guy?
Junior pushing her forward on the bridge, and like she can kind of relate to the teenage boy mentality of being like super into something but not necessarily really feeling it like that strongly or in reality, and feeling the shaking of the gun barrel behind her head, like knowing like he's not as hardened as he's trying to present himself. Good example of it.
Yeah. Just in general, obviously they don't know the fact that Wen has spent all of this time as a white rat, but you see that come out even in the way that like Shay doesn't know or pick up on anyone's names or any sort of details at all and can't identify anyone. Meanwhile, Wen at the very beginning of this chapter knows everyone and has already pieced out all of these different things about people. And I just think that's incredible character writing to keep those as differences.
She kind of has like a stronger survival instinct because she doesn't have Jade. So then when Shay's without her Jade, she doesn't have those skills because she's used to relying on her Jade,
Yeah,
you know?
and she's going through withdrawal too.
Definitely.
I'm not talking shit on Shay. I'm just complimenting Wen.
We did that last week. Now we don't have to anymore. There's also, because like it's built up at the end of last week with Wen making note in these observations of stuff. And that's just like one of the recurring things that's so powerful about Fanali's writing is she introduces things, and it's not like a lot of other writers will introduce a topic or an idea, and you're kind of like, I wish I could see that. Like that sounds really fucking cool. But she introduces it, and then you see it a couple chapters later for the most part. So like we hear Vin really cool with perception sniping, and it's, you know, obviously it pays off later here. But I just thought of that, and I didn't want to forget to say it, so I'm bringing it up.
The perception sniping was badass.
That was great.
Yeah,
so
That's next
dope.
chapter, right?
Yes, yeah.
They
were like sort of similar, and I didn't want to forget.
Yeah,
that was the coolest part.
It's definitely really cool. But Thomas gets to talk about that one. I really appreciate too that when in this moment where she's crossing the bridge, it has this sort of like fairly radical and honest moment of like, well, if I die, you know, at the very least I got all of this extra time. And like her first reflection is that she's lucky because she's already been killed once, and to like make it through all of this again. I think it's just a nice reflection from Wen on like how she values her life.
Yeah.
As extra years.
It's true.
They are extra because she legit died.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah, it's not figurative.
Yeah. Not like, oh my God, I almost died.
Yeah. But these gangsters in the Foltis clan, obviously you guys talked a little bit about them last week, and we'll talk about them more. I'm curious what we think about them versus sort of the usual Greenbone clan gangsters, right? So like we've seen a couple of different nations' version of what a gangster really looks like. What do you make of the Barukan proper gangs, or the Shatarian gangs rather?
It seems more like cartel. They're based on the cartel type gangs to me. Just with the way they were.
They seem nastier.
Weren't these the gangs that like were nailing people to fences and stuff? Yeah. So
they really do feel
scary, nasty.
What's the chapter called? Really bad people or something?
Yeah, really bad people.
They still don't feel as like organized and coordinated and sophisticated as the clans do, though. Like there is that like
panicked aspect.
Yeah, and the lack of the size and reach and like being able to lean on training and kinship, like it still feels more like the crews than it does the clans.
Yeah, it's not like more gang, less mafia type vibes.
And they seem like ignorant because they're like so racist against these ladies, and they're just like, it's like they're living in the past when Shatar invaded Kekon. They're like still acting like these ladies are less than them because of their race. That's the vibe I got.
Yeah. I really appreciate those reads. It's just so interesting because we do get so many different, over the course of the series, we get so many different looks at different versions of crime families. And I think it's interesting to, piece them all out and really see sort of their contemporary comparisons, and then also like what that means for the culture on the whole. And Aaron, I think you're right as well, that it's very clear that they're still kind of stuck in that past of Shatarian superiority, which feels like it has its roots, to me at the very least, a little bit more closely associated with Russian sort of vibes. I mean, I know it's Egatanian more or less, but there's still some similarities there.
Barukan dogs. Yeah.
Friggin' a-holes. So obviously they release Wen, and we count our lucky stars that she makes it across the bridge to Woon. No big deal there. But then we cut over to Shay's perspective, and that comparison that she makes to Doru in that moment, that's a brutal one to face down as a person, just to begin with.
Yeah. To
compare yourself to Doru, who was a tortured war god and just a bad person. But
he got through.
Yeah. He did. By every means that he could. I went back and peeled back through Jade War a little bit just in this moment to review that death moment and talking about the way that he had been tortured without his Jade. And I have to think that the torture that she went through of this overexposure is infinitely worse.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. He got Jade deprived and then normal tortured. Mm-hmm. She just got
lucky guy
put into a microwave.
Yeah, getting thrown into the sun, but an itchy hay fever sun.
Yeah, the way that you could feel that from the descriptions of it, and I really like the description when it first started, where she was like trying to use all of her techniques to ride it and like control it, and it just was like overwhelmed, just like busted through, and then she was just, laid bare by it. It was really cool. I thought that was really well done as a way of just like letting us see how much pain and torture she was under.
And one thing that's way different than Doru's experience is she might not be able to wear Jade again. Like, it might have physical lasting effects, not just mental.
Mm-hmm. I didn't think I would be recoiling at the description of rocks getting poured into a bathtub.
Right.
Like between your toes.
But I was.
Here we are. I think even worse, to me at the very least, and this is something that I didn't really catch on the first time through, but the reason that they have all of this Jade to begin with is because it was what was asked for Wen. Mm-hmm. Right? This is that trade that was made, and that's the only reason that they're actually able to torture. And so it also goes to show that this is a more complex and thoughtful operation than we may have thought in the abduction phase. Like, this is very clearly and carefully planned out to get this information extracted. And that's brutal.
Yeah, it's diabolical.
Mm-hmm. Our dude Dudo has been messed up too and has been beaten up. Our dude Dudo. I've been waiting to say that for a whole week. I wanted to put that into the notes, but I was like, I don't know. I want to give Thomas my joke. But I love Dudo so much in the way that he just sort of reacts. And obviously there's a lot more that goes into this in the next section, but even his regret and then simultaneously hers in these moments, just like, it's not, it isn't Shay's fault, but she blames herself. It is Shay's fault, kind of, as mentioned. But like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not immediately, it's not like not all of those deaths in the way that she thinks they are her fault. And so she owns them all and takes them all personally, of course. But This one, I mean, more than some of those for sure.
Well said, I think.
Yeah.
There's also an interesting bit here where when they first bring out all the Jade, and this might just be because, Shay is obviously steeped into the lore of their religion and Baijan and their culture and is a greenbone. But when all the other Baraton and the Faltas, they're like looking at the Jade kind of enviously. She thinks that they're thinking of themselves as like Baijan reborn, reborn if they were to wear all that. I just thought that was interesting because it's like, even though they're Keko Shatarian, like they're still hearkening to the ancient myths tied to Jade.
Yeah. Yeah, I do wonder if that's simply like what Shay's putting on their expressions, or if Keko Shatarians have a similar or overlapping mythology. I'm not sure. Did Baijan go to Shatar?
I think Baijan's he who returned, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'll talk more about Baijan a little bit later because I think it relates to Nico's story. But Baijan in general has he who returned is in reference to the fact that he died and then came back.
Do you think Wen is Baijan?
I also think Wen is Baijan. I have a lot of fun bits.
No, you're Ben.
I am Baijan.
Ben.
They're all supposed to be.
Benjen.
It's pray to
Benjen.
Pray to Yato, but be like Baijan.
Yato. Yep.
Yeah.
Pray to Yato, be like Baijan.
We're all Baijan guys.
Father of all. Yeah. Baijan and books. Anyway. Okay, cool.
All right. Chapter
Yes,
47. What must be done. Hilo sits watching Wen sleep, relieved and almost beyond belief at having his wife safely returned to him. He departs with Andy to head to Aitmada's estate, and the pair discuss and joke about the last similar drive they made together. We then did a lengthy flashback into over 2 decades ago, a time before Lan was Pillar, when Hilo uses the guise of a clean-bladed duel between himself and Tanku Din, son of Ait Ugantan's Horn, to break up a marriage pact between the mountain and No Peak. Flashing back to the present, he meets with Ait, and as we learn in the next chapter, secures her aid in rescuing Shay. This is our longest chapter of the week, I believe, and it is super interesting.
Yeah, this was a good one.
I predicted in the last episode that the mountain would save everybody.
I have that in the next one. Bet paid off, so I will be taking a shot for y'all. And I stepped up and I made it a bet, even though obviously I knew it paid off. So you guys are welcome.
Good job,
Throw on the sword.
Thomas.
And Cross, you don't have to drink.
Because you're absolved because of your absence. Or maybe you need to take 2 shots because of your absence.
No, because there's a bet that he made that I'm not drinking, and I forget which one it is, but we're fine. Okay, so Hilo and Andy, they're joking about that fateful night when they went to kill Gaunt Ash and end the war with the mountain. And there's the gods we were young back then, Andy. And it just reminded me mostly of binge modes. Gods, I was strong then. From Game of Thrones, of course. Yeah.
That was funny that they're joking about it now. So the vibes have shifted after 20 years.
I was a little bit surprised to hear joking in general while so much stressful shit is still happening.
I mean, even in the original context, like when they first drove, he was making fun of Andon for driving like a grandma, right?
Yeah.
So it's just releasing the tension.
I like seeing Hilo and Andy getting along.
Yeah. Because even though like there was the awkwardness with Andy being like overly formal with Hilo a little bit, not as much as he was with Lan, and then also like so devoted to upholding everything, like they just always have felt the most like brothers to brother to me, besides like Rue and Ito and them, obviously.
In this moment where they're joking, it again mentions Hilo's lopsided smile.
Mm-hmm.
And during that flashback and going into the fight scene, I'm like, oh, is this where he's going to get like something fucked up with his face and it's going to screw with his smile somehow?
What he he has like a crooked face like Barrow kind of. I think
it would have been, they would have pointed out scars more often than just a one-sided smile.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of like why nobody took him seriously as a youth. But then like he's got a little mischief in him.
Mm-hmm.
So this flashback is interesting for a few different reasons. It's just a really interesting look at Lan, I thought. And while it's nice to see him to me, it wasn't the most flattering look for a guy.
Because he was going to let Shay be married off.
So there was that, and he's just like dismissive of Hilo, which we see again, and like he's like that in Jade City too, but just like he just seems so disconnected from everything.
So, genuine question to pose to everyone. Do you think that he was doing that genuinely, or do you think that he was playing his cards out so that Hilo would read the room and do what he was going to do?
I didn't get the dismissive vibe.
We know Lon's not a schemer, so I think he's
He was just
being genuine.
Yeah, I would agree.
He was being cagey and didn't want to talk about anything until Hilo like let slip that he had information about like a meeting that he didn't know Hilo knew about. Like that was a meandering sentence, and I hope it tracks. But
it did track. Yeah, that's
yeah.
That's all I thought was going on, was that he was just cagey, like not wanting to tell Hilo because it was a secret. I didn't think he was plotting for Hilo to do anything about it.
Yeah,
Do you think that he was? I feel like Cross thinks that he was.
I kind of get the vibe that he had that meeting for that particular reason.
But they were just in the car.
I don't know. It doesn't really match with the rest of what he's done though.
I
the
think
only
that
sneaky thing he's
we
done
see
before
Lon
is get shine.
And he didn't do a
He
very
does
good
that
job
badly.
of it.
You haven't. Okay, you're missing a little bit of context, Thomas, and I'm gonna just put it at that from a little other book. But
Okay. But that
our
came
boy
out,
Lon knows how to
that came
scheme.
out post this book anyway, right? So based on what people would know going into this,
Sure,
doesn't seem to fly.
I do think that there's something there, but I do holistically agree that he wasn't trying to make all of that happen. And there are parts of what he was saying that are obviously very dismissive. But I do think that he does know how to tug on Hilo's strings, and as such, thought that this might push him in that direction.
I realize you know more
In this
than
specific
me,
way, maybe not. But
I don't see it at all.
I didn't
Yeah,
think about
same
that
either.
one bit. Yeah,
this made me not miss Lon at all.
Yeah, that's what I mean by like not a flattering look. He's like you shouldn't know about that, or like how do you know about that? And he's just like, and now you made me ruin your meal too. Like I don't know. There's just like weird vibes to it, and you know, I thought like I guess based on your you believe Cross, you don't read it the same way, but I was like, Hilo, we gotta like, why is Hilo, quote unquote, the dumb, brutish brother, the one that sees that this plan is fucking awful and it's going to compromise and lead to No Pete falling apart? Why isn't Lon putting his foot down and being like, Granddad, you don't see this?
because he can't put his foot down.
Yeah,
That's been like his whole thing.
But
No,
like,
but that's been his whole problem, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I was gonna
That's
say,
why
So
it's
that's
a tough
why I'm
look
saying-
for our guy.
it's confirmed my priors on Lon.
But he's
That's so
It just-
interesting.
yeah, I definitely
Because I think the reason
first
that he
time reading
broke
through-
was to make the change, right? Like, I think that's the reason that he did tell to begin with.
So the first time reading, this reaffirmed my position that Hilo is way better at Pillar than Lon. And I agree. I think that here now too. Not just wartime.
all time.
Yeah, I don't think that this changes my opinion on Lon as a pillar necessarily. I think it pretty much remains the same, that like he was an ineffective but dreamer of a pillar. But I do think that he specifically couldn't act, and so he went to someone who could.
And he knows Wound's not that guy. Can't have Wound take care of it.
Right.
Interesting. So a couple other interesting things here. We get the Twice Lucky origin story. Nice to see. Feel like we haven't seen it a lot lately. And Hilo, very plugged in, even for just a fist, not a fish. He knows about secret meetings happening between high-ranking officials of both clans. Pretty cool. Also, his panic when he thinks he's the one being married off because he already at this point loves Wen.
Yeah.
Which is like, again,
So
we see.
cute.
And also, Lon doesn't realize that as well.
And he doesn't realize it even
misreads
in
it.
Jade City.
Yeah.
And like in Jade City, just like he's
pay
kind of
attention,
dismissive of it
Lon.
when he asks to be married. But even before that, he's like, Hilo loves his job, especially when it comes to pretty girls, basically.
Yeah.
Is one
Yeah.
of the first things he thinks when he meets them.
All
Or
the
we meet him.
pretty girls walk like this. Also, this is a
Also-
really light joke that I'm going to say it anyways. Cross being like, I know more than you is like Ron Swanson at Home Depot. Okay, we can put that in where it belonged. That's
just
how
put
late my
Cross's face
jokes
on
are
it.
coming to me today.
this is a joking tough look for a guy, but it is kind of a serious tough look for a guy when Hilo brings up Aitmata as a potential successor to Ugandan. He's like, a woman pillar? I wouldn't go that far. This guy
And that's
does
what
not
I'm
read-
saying about.
Underestimating.
This guy does not read the clouds.
He's right, though.
He is. He's right that he wouldn't go that far. That is true.
Mata takes it upon herself to get appointed, but
Yeah.
or
Kill
become
everyone else.
pillar, but like she wasn't the successor.
I'm more
she
just
killed
mad for being
everybody.
like a woman pillar. Sexism. Hate to see it.
Totally.
It's their whole culture. You know,
Mhm.
there's very few female green bones even at present day.
Yeah, and that. Yeah,
Mhm.
but yeah, like I touched on, just a dumb marriage plan. Hilo sees right through and comes up with a solution, and it's like, Hilo, ice, ice, baby.
The fight was very cool. Are we
Yes.
there yet?
Not quite. I have a couple of silly
Okay.
notes.
Okay.
First, I'm smoking that Doru was a shitty weatherman, Pat, because even then he's trying to
Smoking.
actively undermine the successors of the heir. I think this is all a Doru plot. He's in bed with the mountain even then. I
You
think it's fair to
think?
say, given what we know. Also, we
that.
get another vociferously, which I know, Aaron, you shouted out like 2 weeks ago.
Vociferously. When I said it had been like 2 or 3 times in that one group of chapters. So it's been long enough now that I was like, okay, that's okay.
Mhm.
It's just a unique word. So when you hear it multiple times, it's like,
Yeah,
Good
I had
word.
my heckles up. My hackles? I don't know. I was ready for it.
shackles.
I had my jackals up.
All right. So, what do we think about Hilo's plan here?
It seems like he could have gotten himself killed pretty easily.
It's a classic
sure.
plan. This is a classic plan. I'm not that drunk. You know?
Cheeky bastard.
At first, during it said he was like drunk. And I was like, oh, he really did get drunk? That was stupid.
Yeah.
And then he was like, just kidding, I'm not drunk.
JK. I think it was really sweet to see him come to like beyond the like what it means for the clan.
Mhm.
For him to come to Shay's like aid in all of this, knowing she wouldn't be down for this marriage proposal, was really sweet to see. And I'm curious if she ever knows that this plan was like thwarted by Hilo and like why it all went down. I'm really curious if she knows this.
I also don't feel like he did it for Shay at all. The way I saw it was he played out what was going to happen, and they were going to become like a tributary to the mountain, and his father-in-law would be the other horn, and he was like, not good for me or No Peak.
I think he did it for himself and Lon, and then it had the side effect of being good for Shay.
Yeah,
He does
that's
mention
kinda-
in that moment, like in that argument, how much Shay would dislike it though.
Mm-hmm.
well,
Like
sure,
he's
yeah.
aware she wouldn't like it.
He I think he seems to know Shay better than, I mean, Lon thinks Shay would like fall in line, but Hilo seems to know Shay better than that, you know?
Yeah, Hilo knows people for the most part.
Yeah. He's like, she'd fucking probably run away to Espenia. Oh, wait.
And then Lon's like, don't tell Shay. And he's like, "Dog, like she'd probably kick me off a building if I told her."
Yeah. But I really, I felt like he was doing it more for himself and the clan. I don't know.
Mhm.
Like Thomas just said, it did help Shay, but I don't know that it was like a brotherly concern.
That's fair.
How did you feel, Ben?
I thought he was mostly doing it for himself. Yeah. I mean, I think there was the added component that he knew Shay wouldn't go along with it. But yeah, I think for him, it was like, this is a bad idea.
I think now
He's trying to.
this is before, though,
Redirect.
I guess this is before Shay broke his trust and got in bed with the Espenians, as they say.
Yeah, it happens like 2 years later.
So-
or something.
Maybe there was the brotherly love then. I was just thinking of how Hilo and Shay never got along and were always fighting. But maybe he was a little better before she was dead to him.
I think though, like all else being equal, if Shay was being married off, I don't know if he would have, if that was the only thing at play, that he would have set out to murder the person.
That's
Yeah.
a good point.
I think I agree with that.
Yeah, that'd be a pretty intense reason to murder someone. Can't marry my sister.
Yeah, that would be intense. And then also, it's interesting to see like Hilo for not thinking he understands not liking the politics, I guess, but he sees through the clan politics very clearly too, and he's like, not only like he has to rise, and he's aware that he has to rise precipitously in order to prevent himself from being stopped and having Lon surrounded by just cronies of Doru and his Stranda.
Definitely.
And that's kind of how we meet Lon, right?
Yeah,
He's
the two
surrounded by-
arguing.
Yeah, but he's
Yeah.
only listening to all these old farts.
Yeah. And then the duel happens. There's the duel, the trickery at play with the fake drunk. And then just an awesome fight.
Love to see it.
Yeah, it was a good duel. I like how he finished him off with the spit, the channel, and then the slice.
Yes.
That was cool.
And it's fun to see Hilo in his prime when he's
In the ladder still.
and he thinks he's invincible and he's reckless, and the hubris of him. I was cracking up when he was like talking shit, trying to like get a clean blade.
And then
To
the second he
happen.
says, what's his name?
I forgot. I just forgot.
Tantu Din says like one thing mildly out of line. He's like, I challenge you to a clean blade.
Yeah. Like, finally, dude. Yeah, Tonku wasn't biting at first.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
that
like
was,
the
that was
feeling of,
enjoyable.
like they had a successful heist. Like right afterwards, they're
Yeah.
like running away.
They grab
and
the
they
stuff
Yeah.
and run.
got all this
and-
Jade
And the mates
and-
are wasted.
yeah.
yeah. And
Char's, like,
Hilo's
passing out.
decked out. Now he's got
Yeah.
the most Jade.
Yeah.
Badass.
Yeah, and it helps explain why he was able to become Horn at 25.
Got to do those duels. Got to kill people to get your Jade.
And I think this is one of the things that last week in the Difficult Daughters chapter, when Jai is like, oh, I've heard all the stories. One of the stories she references is Tantu Din, I believe. And he's
Oh,
like,
okay.
you don't know, like, don't talk about things you don't know about. And it's like, there's all these layers of it that we get here. And it's like,
Nice
so we get
callback.
Hilo protecting his family's legacy and then also building his own legacy in the moment. Right then and there, giving him the reputation as like, this is a junior finger who took out the heir apparent to the Mountain's Horn, a heavily jaded, like, badass fighter, and took him out single combat, clean blade. Now he's fucking decked out.
He went into this knowing
Badass.
he intended to kill him, right?
Mhm.
Like there was
He had
no
to,
situation where he could have just
had to kill him.
brutally. Yeah. Yep. Had to.
Can't marry a
Oof.
dead guy.
Can't
we also
marry a
get-
dead guy.
Tar in this says, you're good, Hilo, but even you're not Baijen Reborn. So we did another Baijen Reborn. It's just a
Just
good chapter.
by
They're
Jen's
so
husband.
obsessed with Baijen.
He's like Hercules, but cool.
Hercules
Actually,
isn't
he's like-
cool.
Heracles, but cool. Kind of mid.
He's talking about the real Hercules, not the awesome cartoon that you're thinking.
Yeah, not the cartoon.
I really like Hercules in general.
Oh, okay.
Just for the
Do
record,
you like Heracles?
he seems fine.
I
I
hate
had
him
to
all.
pick one guy. I'd say Perseus.
Percy Jackson, my guy.
Thomas, I just
Um,
noticed this. I don't know if this has been this way the entire time that we've been doing these podcasts, but your shelf on top really is words and whiskey.
Yeah.
It's kind of right now because it's the reverse. It's whiskey and words, but
Been like that the whole time.
Yeah.
I also have my Economic Developer of the Year award that I stole, and a dinosaur head, a fake dinosaur head in the middle.
why is it gotta be fake?
Because I'm not a criminal.
Dinosaurs happen.
You just talked about stealing something.
You did.
DJ, you're supposed to leave that part out.
I'm not a
Allegedly.
thief. I challenge you to a clean blade.
My mic is clean.
My mic is clean.
I like that. I do like my blade is clean. That hits every time.
Mhm.
When do you
Still
read
gonna
that?
get fucked up in a couple minutes when
No,
the mountain
just,
comes.
He's like at a bar. My blade is clean.
People are like, "What the fuck is this guy talking about?"
Does he have a blade?
Um,
You
So you
fall
have to
over
leave.
off the stool. Yeah.
Sir, your drunk friends, and that body that you just created, get out of here.
Allegedly. Okay, so duel's done. We flash back to the present. Hilo goes to see Ite and asks for the Mountain Clan's assistance to bring Shay home safe and sound. And he pulls a couple strings very effectively here. What do you guys think about the end of this chapter?
Hilo got one over on her.
On the mountain?
Not really got one over, but like he like convinced her to do something she didn't really want to do.
I thought this was him doing this with Ite was way more, I think, challenging and ballsy than what he did with Tanku Din.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Like this was like the ultimate, like, suck it up and shake hands.
I mean,
I think that conversation,
Crazy.
the conversation with Andy on the way there saying like, we lose either way, we might as well like play the cards however we can, makes this make a lot more sense. But it's calculated. He knows exactly what she's going to think throughout all of this, like what her assumptions will be. Going in completely unarmed and like basically ready to die was the only way that he would be able to get in. It was well done. And was this the bet? Was this one of the bets from last week?
Yeah, but it sort of pays off next chapter where they actually show up.
Right.
So I put it there. I can drink now if you guys want. I don't know.
We can wait.
Okay.
We want you to get real nervous.
Shaking in my boots. I did forget what I was going to say now, though. There is the way that Hilo leverages the Tobins in Ite, and then how Ite is able to leverage the Tobins. Like, there's a weird dynamic in play there where both kind of have leverage over one another, but it's like the Tobins don't really have leverage on Ite, just their existence puts like a governor on her, and how like she can't do anything she wants anymore. Or she can't do everything she wants, I guess.
Right.
I think describing it as a gutter is a really good way to visualize that. Yeah.
What does that mean? Is that a sports thing?
No, there's like like almost like she has a leash on her, so or an invisible fence, I guess is what I'm getting at. Like there's or like say you have a car and they put something to limit how fast that car can go. I think that's a governorship, or unless that's a sci-fi
Governor.
thing.
Yeah, governor.
You said gutter.
Yeah, that's a governor.
Governor.
I was like, what's gutter mean?
It means gutter.
I know. I was like, it doesn't mean what you guys are saying it means.
Oh, yeah.
Governor.
No, they guttered her.
Governor.
Governor.
I fucking hate you.
Oh yeah. The last thing I have, because we touched on him, kind of dropping to his knees, not begging though, but like solemnly asking Ite for her help and pledging, like his pledge to her after like anything that comes next, it's fucking even. I don't know why I said fuck. Anything that comes next is even, and we'll pull out a shitar. So we covered that a little bit.
We're a bad influence on you.
I be cussing. I don't know. Anyway, the Jade auras brushing together, and where she's like kind of staring out the window and contemplating, and he comes up to her but stops when their auras.
Okay, who wanted him to like wrap his arms around her?
You like little enemies to lovers going on,
and like sway. It's okay. You can be held.
Mm-hmm.
It's not your fault.
It's a prom pose.
With this deal struck,
mm-hmm.
I am curious if this brings the prospect of peace and unity closer or farther away.
It kind of
they're working together in this instance, but only in the way that it like clears a debt. So I don't know if it's going to make war more like a possibility going forward, or hey, we worked pretty well together, maybe we can work together more often. I don't know what's going to happen.
PJ, just the sum of that comes in next chapter at the end, I think.
Because the debt is paid.
Okay.
But there is like that interesting question, because like now that the debt is paid, will I be like, the gods won't be vengeful against me if I lash out at No Peak more strongly? Then I'll bring it up now a little bit. Like usually when the Mountain Clan, even the lower ones, interact with a high-ranking member of No Peak and vice versa, there's like the token respect. But at the end of the next chapter, and it could just be because they're humans and they see Shay just like broken, there's like a weird tenderness and like it seems genuine respect given to her. So it is, and they have been doing these like joint missions to take out the clanless and stuff.
Yeah, to me, it's like another brick in the wall of them like working together. So it's just like another thing of them, even though it's a debt being repaid. Like to me, Hyde's doing that out of a sense of honor and respect that she has gained over the years. Her and Hilo are obviously, they hate each other, but just I think for the No Peak operation in general, and
Sort of
just like the more that they work together, the more that they cooperate on stuff. Like I don't know. I think it's natural that they start moving in that direction. So to me, this was just another step, a bigger step, but in a direction that they've already been going.
sort of like, this is a huge leap in logic I'm going to make here, but I'm going to do it anyway. So, we see the people working together on both sides of the clan, between the Horn side at least a little bit, more and more. And they do, the street war hasn't been raging hotly. But, you would think, given that little bit of familiarity with one another, they're in the press a lot more, so they know who each other are, even if they haven't met. That familiarity, it kind of reminds me of like, anecdotes from the Civil War of, we have the people, the scouts or guards posted up, and they become kind of friendly with those on the other side and trade and stuff back and forth. It just kind of reminds me of that, like that familiarity will help prevent future escalations.
Right.
Will be more willing to talk to one another because they know each other.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's a great point.
Which brings us to Chapter 48, Debts and Losses. Shay and Dudo's Jade exposure torture continues, and the Faltas interrogate Shay, looking primarily for names of her White Rat informants in Shatar, but also information on something called the Human Deal. What follows is a cat and mouse game where she doles out information, hoping to slowly drip it out to earn enough shine to keep her and Dudo alive and somewhat sane, and buy Hilo time to rescue them. A phone rings, and the combined strike force of Mountain and No Peak Greenbone sprint into action to rescue Shay. We skip forward a month and see Shay return to K-Town and physically recover from her torture. She discusses with Hilo what it took to secure Ite's cooperation and what her future holds should she not be able to don Jade again. The chapter ends with her arriving at the conclusion that she's a bad motherfucker, Jade or not, and will do her job no matter what.
Woo!
So bet paid off of Ite stepping up. Meant to take a shot when we started, so this is a lot, but
Oof.
Damn, that was a big shot.
it was supposed to be 2.
Oh my god.
We're chilling,
Thomas is going hard in the paint.
Now,
He's gonna have a fun
before
afternoon.
we go too much further, while we're talking about the bets real quick, did you guys pay off the tar bets last week?
Oh, we did not.
Interesting. So PJ said unceremoniously, unheroically saves the day, similar to the prince. Okay. Ben said Tar returns, totally redeeming himself, and there are no other
we did
options,
talk
so
about
we
this.
call Tar.
So I was
Okay.
correct, obviously.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
We did talk about paying it off, but we meant to save it for this week, right?
Yes.
All
Yeah,
right.
we did.
All right.
That's true.
Because I remember I
Can I
quipped-
take my shot next week?
I took issue with
That's fine.
totally redeemed himself, but
And Tar comes back because literally no one else can save the day. The last hero person dies saving everyone. Was Aaron's. So
That was wrong for
pretty
sure.
extreme.
Yeah.
It was a
I'm
pretty
out of-
bold bet.
I think mine was correct. Yours was wrong.
Is yours correct?
Yep.
PJ's was the most right.
I think PJ's is the most correct.
Yours is very
Aaron's
loose.
is the most
Well,
wrong.
mine was more specific. Ben's was so vague, which I guess is a good way to make a bet.
listen, the house always wins. No, sir.
So I'll take 2 for those 2, but Aaron, I'm going to ask for a bonus drink next week.
Yes,
I would,
yes.
but I just drank my whole drink. So I'm
Here.
out.
Yeah.
That's what I'm drinking for you, man.
By the way, you might notice I'm wearing all my Chiefs gear because I've been watching the quarterback show, and it's like a huge jerk-off fest to Patrick Mahomes, and I fucking love it.
All right.
Have you watched it?
Only
And
drivers
Kirk
can drink.
Cousin.
can't
I haven't
do
watched
thought
it
I
yet.
could.
Kirk Cousins and the other guy. I don't know. We don't fast
Mariota,
forward through
yeah.
the other guys, but I look at my phone a lot until Pat comes back on.
Nice.
I don't know if you guys ever tried to do impressions with headphones on. It's hard.
Yes.
I
I'm trying
just
to do a
avoid
Pat
doing
Mahomes, and I
impressions
just,
in
like,
general because I'm bad at them. Headphones are not.
Well, that's why it's fun.
Because you have a deep, smoky voice.
It's not fun when people are good at them. It is, but it's not as fun. It's fun when people are bad at them.
Okay. I'll stop digressing. No, I won't. Let's go.
Let's go.
Well, I digressed. So
Okay.
pick it up.
So, we took our drinks, we paid off the bets. Now, let's get into the notes. So poor Shay. Obviously, the torture is terrible, but she's put into such a compromising position of having to sell out the spies in order to try to save Dudo.
Yep. It's the whole moral riddle. Do you stop the train to save the kid, or do you
trolley problem on us, huh?
do you kill the kid and save everyone on the train? What is that? The trolley.
Yeah.
What do you do? It's a moral.
I like
you know.
Yeah, I like how she was thinking through it, though, that she was just trying to buy enough time for Hilo to figure something out.
And then she'd save everyone, which she did.
Yeah. So she was like,
Or they did.
slowly letting names go and then trying to
hold
keep
out.
Dudo alive.
Yeah. And she is like, you go, PJ. Sorry.
I mean, the whole situation is pretty fucked in that it's not to save herself, because I think she's pretty sure she's going to die no matter what. Like, I don't think she's convinced that she'll survive this, but they're not going to let her die. Basically, like the whole situation's super fucked. She knows she's condemning every single one of those people that she gives up to horrible, horrible deaths. And on top of that is getting tortured. Like there is no winning in this situation until the day gets saved. Like she is in a totally damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. So her only play is to drip feed the information as slowly as possible, which is kind of brilliant, but at the same time, really, really depressing.
But it's badass that she keeps her wits about her enough to not just like shout out everyone's name. If she did that, they probably would have just killed her, you know?
She's being like waterboarded with Jade, basically, and she still has the wherewithal to slowly dish it out, like you were saying, Aaron. It's incredible.
She was so close to not being with it, though. Like
Yeah,
she's
like,
questioning whether
down.
or not she knows the information they're asking for with that deal.
Well, then there's a deal she doesn't know about. Is that like the one the mountain's doing behind her back?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's that as well.
Do we know what that deal's about?
Which one? The human deal? I have a question about that, but we're going to save it. Okay, so Shay, like Ben touched on, has this utter faith in Hilo. Whenever she's lucid, she's praying to help her brother find them, and she just knows that he will. And I thought that it was pretty telling and touching, and I think that the fact that a lot of the more emotional and like touching moments in the story come during these moments of like absolute brutal violence. It's just like another beautiful bit of realism in the writing, because that's just the world our characters live in.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a really great point. And yeah, those are the moments where we are getting these like most emotional kind of pulling our heartstrings moments. They're just sandwiched in between dark violence.
Yeah, and I have a quote here. Hilo would find them. He would not be fooled by the Barutan's ploys. If there was anything she had faith in besides the gods, it was her brother's cunning vindictiveness. So every moment she was loose enough to think, she prayed silently and fervently. Yato, father of all, help me, help my brother. And we know she has faith in the gods.
It comes in handy when you're trying not to lose your mind.
Seems like Shay's praying usually works.
It is. It has.
It does.
It has been
Pretty
good.
true.
Sometimes it's like a monkey paw, but it does usually work.
So I guess with that sort of proclamation about Hilo's inability to be fooled like this, he kind of was, right? It's Wen that convinces them to stop the evacuation and like focus on. I guess it doesn't confirm that.
We don't really get the opportunity to know, but she does give them valuable intel. She confirms at least that something else is afoot, and it's not just that they're going to give Shay back.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't know. I think you could read it as, I don't think Wen's information was useless there.
I think Hilo.
I
would
don't
have
think this is
waited
Hilo's
for
first
their-
negotiation.
But I think Hilo believed. I think Wen was the one who changed his mind, because Hilo seemed to believe he had to do what they wanted until Wen said they're never going to give her back, and that's when he went to the extreme measure. I don't think he would have done that without Wen knowing that they weren't going to give her back? How would he have known that? Because why wouldn't they just want Jade and money? That's what everyone wants.
Well, I think he figured Shay and his men were trying to forfeit, or more forfeit than when. Like, once they got the money, there's nothing really preventing them from killing her. It's just them, like, vengeance. I guess is the only motive they had for holding up their end of the bargain. But yeah, I think Wen deserves a lot of credit, so I'm happy with accepting that.
Okay, they're pouring all this Jade in the bathtub. She's getting waterboarded. Does Jade get, like, diluted at all? Like, aren't they going to want to use all this cut Jade once they're done torturing her?
Yeah, I think they can still use it. They take the Jade off the bodies of their foes when they kill them.
I know. It's like
it's not like there's... I don't think Jade's a battery that can be depleted.
That's what I'm thinking. Don't want to put it in water.
To my knowledge, I don't think to my knowledge we've had any evidence.
It's like a bath bomb. It starts to disintegrate.
It's not like a bath bomb, Aaron.
Fizzing.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, no.
You're cut off. No
We're
more
not even
donuts.
drinking.
I did have a Bloody Mary before we started.
Yeah, okay, fair point.
That was for the hangover.
Okay, let's move on. I'm too upset. What do we think the human deal is? I feel like I'm like Trump saying human when I don't. Human.
Human. Don't we find out? Isn't it like with that old crusty lady whose husband died, the Coben?
I don't think so.
And like immigration stuff? That was something
she asked
different?
Hilo. That's something different. She asked Hilo in that if he knows what it is. That's the deal that Ite used to get the Matos or whatever to agree.
That's a different
Mateos.
Yeah.
Mateos. Different deal.
Oh, okay. Too many deals.
Lots of deals.
It's the art of the fucking deal.
You keep bringing up Trump,
dumb.
man.
I had to because I brought up Trump, so then I had to, you know what I mean? Anyway, fuck that guy.
Thank you. I was like...
No, fucking
Good work.
Just to be clear.
We got there. It took a while, but we got there.
I don't have any good ideas on the human deal.
No idea. Just that the mountain's being a slippery little snake.
Yeah.
Is it the mountain? Why?
Feels Aspenian. I don't know why.
Oh, I thought it was with the mountain.
No, I'm just saying it
Are
feels
the
like
human-
the Aspenians are involved.
What is human?
An island.
Is that like a country or something?
We've seen it.
I was going to say, I thought we had seen something about this. Like, I was kind of remembering something to do with human, but I couldn't
It's a spice.
remember what it was.
Huh?
I think you put it on tacos, but I'm not positive.
You're so fired, Thomas.
Because of human. Oh, those shots are shotting.
I'm gonna have to go back. And do some page flipping through the book.
Oh man,
I don't remember. I feel like it's a place, but I don't know.
Okay.
Can you tell us what the context is that we know about it from previously in the story?
I don't know.
Concerned.
Cross, what are the rules of what we can remind them?
Well, that's
Can we
something
just
that
tell
we
you
them?
can
Right.
absolutely remind him.
Okay, so it is an island that's property of Tayton. It's Tetani's island, but that is where the Aspenian military base is.
I knew it was
Wow.
Aspenians bullshit.
If you look at the Pokemon, it's on the inside of the Pokemon.
Right.
The Poke.
Where the Navy base is. That's where old
It really is.
rich guy hangs out. Billionaire guy. Seems like he's probably involved.
And his consort, Lula.
His
She owns,
possible assassin consort.
Oh, the guys with the weird
She
religion.
owns. All I like to think is Lululemon. That's
Are we
all
going to
I can think at this
assassinate a
moment.
billionaire? Let's do it.
Got any subs handy?
Steal his money.
All right. So, well, PJ,
one-
what do you got?
One question. Did they recover the jade that they had given? Or did they just leave it in the bathtub?
I think they mentioned it being. Oh, could
Okay.
they? Because that if they touch that jade, they're fucked.
They put the gloves on that the dead guy had.
They
The
could
lead
have.
line
Did they? I
gloves.
forget. Did they mention that they picked it up?
I'm
I
sure
don't
they
remember.
got
I think
it.
they did.
Maybe that's part of like the mountain gets to keep it or something. I don't remember. Let me
That's
see.
No way.
Cross, would you mind looking through and
Yep.
as I keep this going? Thank you.
I'm sure
Can do.
they
I'm sure
refer to it
picked
as a mythical
It's a
quantity of
lot.
jade.
It is a lot.
I'm sure they fucking got it. But Shay
I
was
just-
like, get
I
that
was-
shit away from me.
My
So,
cable is saying,
in general, the Strike Force scene is really cool. And just to look at like how goddamn far we've come in this story, because in Jade City they're fighting a street war with like swords and knives most of the time, and like their Jade ability. And here we have a Strike Force on foreign soil, and it's like a SEAL Team Sit style raid with sniper rifles and shit.
It's
And, like,
badass.
No consideration of windows or sight.
No,
Just-
it doesn't matter.
Doesn't fucking matter.
This rifle's powerful.
Yeah.
And
It's punching
Vin's
through walls.
perception is it's so cool.
Yeah. That's yeah.
I have
so there's
bad
a really
depth
cool,
perception, much less see behind walls perception. I don't have any
but
of
yeah,
that
so there's
shit.
that payoff of when Nico accidentally commits a war crime, when he's reflecting on how Vin would have been able to snipe this guy. And so we did that payoff there of the tool of Vin's perception sniping. And he has to close his eyes in order to use it, which is interesting and cool. And there's like the really cool description of it, of course, and the how he has to like focus intensely on it. And then there's also if something inanimate is in the way, he can't tell, which makes sense, but
Yeah.
it's just like cool the way they focused on it.
It's like the heat seeking goggle images.
Mhm.
Night vision.
And it's also cool because it's like I guess they say he's setting to somebody in his perception, and it's not now Suinzen, but like this is our first time seeing someone with like crazy sense of perception, having that described to us firsthand. It was really interesting to see.
Yeah, Vin's a tin savant.
It was badass.
good joke.
I
And
got
they also
it.
play this.
Miss
There's
me.
also this cool game they have to play of like Vin has to be close enough to perceive things and to try to figure out what's going on, but far enough away that Bearcon
Yes.
can't detect him.
I really like that. And they had to do like drive-bys to like
Yeah,
feel out Jade
it was
auras.
just like all of for like the first book and a half were like, can we get some fucking schemes going?
right.
And now they're like literally the CIA.
Yeah.
It's
Badass.
incredible. Listen, Juen
Mission
needs,
Impossible.
let's get like raise Juen's pension in retirement.
Yeah.
This guy
He earned it.
did some crazy shit for the no peak.
If he gets to retire.
He did. He already did.
Oh, yeah. For some reason, I was thinking Vin.
Tar was a club, and he was the scalpel.
Poor Kane didn't have time to adapt.
Mhm.
I don't think he had this in him, but Juen
Oh, yeah.
was just
Kane
the
was somewhere.
perfect man for the job. All right. But I already touched on this a little bit, and this might just be me reading into it, but the horror of what Shay went through seemed to really move the mountain fighters. And the description of them helping to cut the ropes it seemed really tender to me in a way. And they
Mhm.
just like everything, like they seemed to be genuinely respectful of Shay. Did that stick out to you guys?
I agree.
I guess I didn't realize they were all. I thought, aren't they mixed in with No Peak, or was it
They are.
were the mountain people
so-
the ones saluting and stuff?
Both of them
Yeah.
are, but I think they tee it off with a finger, or like something she didn't recognize, they say.
Yeah.
Oh,
Or someone
okay.
she doesn't know. So that's how
I think
you're
when
supposed
I
to
was
tell.
reading it, I thought they were No Peak people that were doing that exact action.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it does definitely seems like they have respect. I'm assuming like they don't know that he saved Mata, right? So
Right.
I mean, but even then, it's just like she's
Well, it's
earned
just
their
like
respect over her time.
it's kind of like Andon being very respectful to Ait, and when he first met her, like you show respect to your elders, basically, like your betters.
I did forget about that when I was saying that it seemed different than usual.
But the tenderness is probably
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting.
unique,
Like
yeah.
they helped Lo cut the ropes off her, and I feel like normally they'd be like, we did our part here, we're done.
Right.
right.
Kind of
Like
like-
stand in the corner, wait for the
Right.
next thing.
Yeah, kind of like in Red Rising, the description of how the slaves will do exactly what you tell them, but then that's it. In the Institute. Yeah, I just thought it was interesting. And then I already touched on my last. So the aftermath of this, we flash forward. We're in K-Con. Shay has recovered physically, but Andon's like, there might be a mental block of you putting Jade back on.
Yeah.
And he's like tearful for her. Our guy, Judo, can probably never put Jade on. And I have a fucking bone to pick with every character in this book now, because they say he's gonna have to be medicated and go to therapy to recover from this, which means therapists exist, which means what the fuck are we doing, guys? Not going to therapy.
Yeah, like Lon could have really used some therapy.
Every character in the story could have used it.
What? Yeah, I'm curious if this is like physical therapy, like, or if it's like just the therapy that we think of when we hear
I took
therapy.
it as real therapy because they said antipsychotic drugs right
That's
in
true.
the same sentence.
That's a good point.
And it's
So
a
I'm
mental
like-
block, not a physical block.
I'm like, Andon, you seem to have recovered for the most part, but like, did you get some therapy? Elo, they've mostly recovered, but I think we could get some more going.
We all need
By
to
the way, I
at
think
least talk
Andon
about
did
it.
go to therapy because what's his name? Jirhu was talking about it at one point.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good for
Didn't catch
Andon.
that.
Can also now I'm just thinking out loud here. Can we get another spin-off and it's just like a web series after the series comes out and it's Hilo in therapy like Tony Soprano? And then be sick.
No,
Hilo,
I want green bone therapists.
you just picture like what their perception be like, that's a fucking lie. You're full of shit. You didn't do your work. It's not about your mother at all. I'm picturing Hilo as Tony Soprano now, and instead of the gabagool, it's the crispy squid balls. He goes to the fridge every time anything mildly inconvenient happens, and he's just hammering crispy squid balls.
That's me with Cheez-Its.
All right, that's all I got.
I wanted to bring up something. I did double check. There actually isn't an answer within the pages. I would rescanned the entire chapter.
For the
So it's not
Jade.
clear for the Jade. It is not made a point of during chapter 48. Part of me feels like the title of the chapter, Debts and Losses, makes it seem like it is a loss in addition to the other things. But, whether here nor there, unclear at this point.
They had. Why
So.
wouldn't they have?
I can't imagine they
I
left
mean,
all of that to
come on.
the mountain.
No,
unless
I would
agreed
imagine they
to.
did.
But
Yeah.
I was just thinking, like, obviously they pitched up, but then I was like, well, they can't because there's so much.
Well, there was.
Yeah.
They
And, like-
transported it there, and it was.
Right.
But
I'm
they
sure
didn't
those
like
boxes
bare
are
hand.
still there, and the lead
Yeah.
gloves are still there. I just don't.
Right, but
They should be able to get it back.
They used the lead gloves on the boxes. They didn't, you know what I mean? Like they didn't grab the fistfuls of Jade with that. I'm sure.
Grab
there's
a
obviously
shovel.
a
I
way
don't
to
know,
do
I'm
it.
just
I'm sure they
saying.
have
Yeah.
I'd be
Stone Eyes
surprised
working
if
for the
they-
weatherman's office, but
Mm-hmm.
I'd be surprised if they left it all.
Right.
Yeah.
Or any of it. Why
Wonder
not
if,
take all of it back?
if a Talon knife can have Jade on it, like, could you shovel Jade, or would it like transfer up? How does it work?
I
guess
assume
we touching the hilts?
the jade's on the handle of the talon
you're
knife,
fine.
making
Touching.
contact with your hand.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah.
I was just
Oh, because metal
Maybe.
is a conductor.
that's what I was thinking. But you got the rubber handle, maybe anyway.
Wooden handle,
Cross,
rubber
what was your
handle, yeah.
second-
Get a wooden shovel, not a
What
metal
was your
shovel.
second point?
The second thing that I wanted to bring up was you'd made mention of sort of Shay's Greenbone, reverence for Jade. And I really like the quote itself, so I just wanted to read it here. Jade had meaning because of the type of person one had to become to wear it. Jade was visible proof that a person had dedicated their life to the discipline of wielding power, to the dangers and costs of being a Greenbone. And it's so awesome, I think, that Shay comes around on this, right? In a way that in the beginning she doesn't believe that she doesn't want anything to do with Jade, and now she realizes that Jade was more of a symbol of the power, not the actual power itself that you can actually work and acquire.
You too can be
Yeah.
successful if you
I
believe
don't.
in
I
yourself.
have that in my notes. I don't know why I skipped over it.
You
Dumb.
fucked up.
I did.
If you believe in yourself and come from one of the most powerful
Richest families.
families in the country.
The money helps.
Money helps.
She's a nepo baby now. Yeah, right.
She's always been a
Really
nepo
a
baby.
nepo
That was
baby.
never a
That was not
that
a
was never a
question.
question.
I'm just being obstinate, as is my right. I do like what will I do? My job as weatherman.
My
of no
fucking
peak.
job. I'm the fucking
Mhm.
weatherman.
She's-
Also, I'm going to
she's
be a
a bad
mom
bitch.
and not die.
Maybe.
But yeah,
I don't know. We got a
it's
couple
like-
weeks left.
It's such an interesting reflection about what Jade actually means, and it's so crazy. proud of her for real.
I think I really got Ben with that one.
Can I tell you guys something? You know what sucks about this happened last week too with the gin shot. When there's like a big shot, I feel like I should drink more, but like I know I don't want to get drunk.
Don't do it.
You know
Alcoholism.
what I mean? Cross, you're up.
All right. Now we've got the big chapters here. All right. With that, we go to chapter 49, The Prince's Stand, the 22nd year, 12th month. For Rue's birthday, Dano invites him to the Little Persimmon, a bar in mountain territory. After an introduction to a burned Tadino, the bartender and friend of Darrow, it's followed by some dancing with a girl named Junie. Rue quickly finds himself on the wrong side of Kobin Ashi. A duel ensues, and cruel ends are met. Whew. Yeah.
I've never gone from fuck yes to fuck no so fast. And the way you're reading it in the book, it's you're going down the page and then it goes over to the next page. Like he's like beating the shit out of Tadino at the bottom of the page, and then you go to the top of the next page, and
he's reaching for the knife.
His throat is slashed,
gets him.
and you're just like, what? I was
shouldn't have turned the page.
That.
Well, and you're in the like fast reading mindset, and so I remember reading this for the first time, and I totally skipped it, and then you see the reaction from Kobin Ashi going, "What the fuck? What the fuck?" Yeah. And then you go back, and you're like, "Oh God, how did I miss that?"
You're skipping things.
Well, you know how like your eye is reading an action. No, but you read like the beginning and end of things. Generally, you scan over it, and like.
Yeah,
this is why I read slower than you guys, because I read every word.
Same. I can't not read every word, and that's why I hated reading for so long.
I sometimes accidentally do the thing where you catch things you're not supposed to, but I try to read everything. I know.
Yeah, me too.
No.
But like, especially,
I said how to read good.
I definitely read it.
No.
I read like cross. I read in chunks.
Let me jump in.
Yeah.
So like when you turn the page, sometimes your eyes inadvertently read things because like just the way like you're reading the bottom of the page. You turn, your eyes are still there because you're turning so fast. So you read it automatically almost, and you're like, "Fuck."
I move your eyes.
We're not all as coordinated as you, Aaron.
Aaron looks up every time between pages.
A book,
she's one of the best readers.
I open it to the last page and see what happens. It's weird. It's like that's where my eyes go.
Wow, we're called out. We're called out, gentlemen.
I mean, I'm a serial, like, if something happens, I'll start looking ahead for sure.
Really?
I do all the time.
Didn't you yell at Aaron about that for Howler Pod?
Well, I did a control
Use
F.
Command F, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I remember. Yeah.
I have a PC. It was control.
Once, like, events start happening, I start reading very quickly, and then I start reading in very large chunks.
I do that sometimes. I don't do the large chunks. I like speed, and then if it's like, okay.
There are so many devil's cuts buried into this episode.
It's true.
I'm so sweaty.
PJ, what do you got?
Because you're drunk?
It's hot. No, because I turned the AC off.
All right. Yeah, same. It's hot.
Getting back into this section though, like as soon as Junie like started showing any interest in Rue, I'm like, oh no.
Don't trust this woman.
Don't trust anything that's happening right now. And also Little Persimmon in general, like knowing that this was the place, this was that bartender. Fuck. God. No.
There's so many songs we could do the musical Tourette's with here. I'm gonna do it. That's kind of. That one doesn't really work, but I love it anyway. I love T-Pain.
It could be
I was gonna say bump it up, bump it up, up. That girl is poison.
Thanks for the building. She seems shady
so
from
many
the start.
Who amongst us as single people haven't been like, a girl with the short hair, little sauce going on? Like we've all fallen for it.
I sure have.
Who amongst us?
I can sympathize.
Yeah. Sympathize or empathize? Empathize.
I don't know. I remember which one's which.
I don't read it.
No, I totally get it. And I think what also just irks me is that like there's a lot in this chapter A that's going on, and we get this. And like, when you're reading it, it's like, that something's going to go wrong because you see Rue's future so closely. Like right away, it's like, yeah, he finally decided to go into public policy. He figured out what his life was going to be. And like all these things are shaping up for Rue. And we've seen this before with Andon, and we've seen this before with Hilo, and we've seen this before with Shay. And to then have it, of course, one of them's going to go tragically wrong. And it just, it sucks.
It was not my favorite chapter this week.
I don't know.
Also, I just want to throw in that
listeners.
Dano sucks too.
Yeah.
Oh, was that
Do
a bet or was that just a?
No,
we just talked about it heavily.
Yeah, I was like, he's okay. What an idiot.
I thought I just hated him because he's a prick. I forgot about this part. Obviously, I knew. I forgot how he brought him to this bar specifically. I thought it was just his birthday.
Yeah, but he didn't really I can't blame
have
Dano.
some common sense.
I don't
It's
know.
Rue.
How's he?
Dano's a fucking moron.
Like, why didn't they meet
He
in the
got-
No Peak bar?
He got branded.
He's just an
You
idiot.
can't bring him to a clan. Like, he's just an idiot. You can't take a weird dude's word for it. Just a fucking moron.
And Rue shouldn't have gone.
That's the
That's
reality.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he really should know better.
Rue was just going through it. You know what I mean? It just, so he was like, I'm gonna fucking do it. Whatever.
It was complications. He even blames it on a sort of complication from his midterms feeling backed up because he took time off at the beginning of the year because his mother was kidnapped. And so he basically pins it on the happenings, and in the long run, kind of pins it on Shay in a weird way in his own head for the why of why he's here. Yeah.
This fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Can I say, I'll touch on something personal in the next chapter, but I don't know how this will play for listeners. But this, just in terms of shocking deaths written by brutal authors that we all love, this got me more emotional than Ulysses. Ulysses. Just because we had more time to... And the way Fonda, we meet Rue, and then he's a 12-year-old little shithead kid, and she just makes us fall in love with him so quickly.
Yeah.
In the 2 chapters we get to hang out with him as an adult. And he's a young adult. He's a very young adult. And we just this kid rocks. And then he's dead. And so it's what the fuck?
And we get the scare in Jade War of his the whole
It
going
blows
to the
up.
hospital, and then Hilo's acceptance, and then the swallowing of the stones, obviously going to the hospital.
Yes. Yep.
And all of these different segments of this is the kid that we're going to follow in as an additional aspect of this family. And then to have it start to appear and to follow all the same trends that we've seen with all of the other characters, to have it cut short is just I don't know, brutal. Of all of the deaths in all of the books, I was thinking about this too. I don't know that we've read on the show so far. I don't know that anyone hits me harder than Rue's death personally.
This one just
because
sucks.
it feels unjust.
Sucks. It's
fucking
unjust is a great way to say it. It's
And I was really starting to like him.
there's this giant loss of potential. That's the thing. It's there's
Yeah.
all this potential for him
Too
as a
young.
character, and just how idealistic he was, and the types of people that he wanted to stand up for and help represent. It was just, that's what makes it so sad and tragic. It's just, and so difficult to just accept. It's just so gutting because there's just so much potential there for him, and he had this great opportunity to be something different. And this kind of, as this world modernizes, and now it's all gone. So
Yeah, the sad reality is that the clanless future people were trying to make a clan war to destroy the clans, but Rue was trying to help clanless
them.
people.
Yeah.
very, very
This is
sad.
the big
Peach.
sad.
Big sad.
Big sad.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the big sad guys.
Also, I don't know if this falls under confidence of the writing or just I don't to be able to, as a writer, be here's a horrible, traumatizing thing. The next chapter, here's something worse.
I think it's trust.
That's fucking badass. It's just Fonda Lee, I'm in awe of her. I think this is I touched across and I was I can't, during this book, and I was
You're I can't
I
even.
entertain. Well, no. I was I entertain thoughts of being a writer and like wanting to write. And I'm like, reading this makes me be like, why bother? I couldn't do this.
Don't sell yourself short.
No, this is I maintain this is the best writing I've ever read. I mean, not like this section specifically, but just Fond du Lis in general is like the best thing I've ever read, I think. Not as wide read as Crossland. I just like I'm in awe of her as an author.
She's kicking ass, taking names. I do think that this is also another one, kind of like Shay getting kidnapped and stuff, where you see in hindsight like all the bad decisions and you're like also annoyed. Like I'm sad for Rue, but I'm also like really annoyed at him. Like, come on, dude. Everyone's trying to kill you all the time. Like, you can't just like wander into mountain territory and expect Aisho to always protect you.
Well, he's used to people not knowing who he is.
Yeah.
But then he's at the bar showing his ID. Like, yeah, I'm a call.
Yeah, I'm that motherfucker.
It's so stupid.
Yeah.
Well, it's because he wants to flex that Prince thing, right? For the first time in a long time. And it's like, you know, he isn't the one that's outwardly because he isn't that green bone. And as such, I mean, it calls back to me, especially again to the hospital. And then going into chapter 50, of course, with Nico of like supposed to be the one there to protect him because he can't protect himself in these moments. And Nico did that when they went to the duel similarly. And he's stepped in all of these different sort of brash moments and flashes that Rue has. And it feels like for once Rue holds his own. And truthfully, he does hold his own. And it's, you know, not necessarily a freak accident, but it is a moment of desperation that turns this whole situation into something a lot more than it was intended to be.
So part of that, I think, is because he's not a Greenbone, right? Because his opponent concedes, and like a Greenbone would end the fight there, no matter what, basically. Right? More or less.
Well, he should have.
I'm curious if that would have actually ended the fight.
That's a good point. Like, would Tadino have done that no matter what if he observed that the blade was loose?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I just think there is something interesting there where he's like been raised in that world but removed from it, and then so he doesn't have that same like he doesn't fall under Aisho of having to follow the strictures of a clean bladed duel. But like,
neither does Tadino, which is the other side of this too. To me, is that like Tadino isn't really raised in that. He's a gangster, and so like he does swing out in desperation. And you know, who's to say what would have happened?
This is like it was like animal caught in a trap at that point.
Yeah.
To survive.
Yeah, Peach.
I think there was also the mistake of Rue, like the mistake of both of them. I think it was it was something overlooked, but when the bare-fisted fight is what was selected, he should have put his knife down and away.
Yeah.
Like they should have both been unarmed.
Fully unarmed, yeah. That's a great point. I didn't think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I didn't think of that either, but it does, like, it almost comes natural, I feel like, to that. It's kind of like symbolic removing of the weapons.
Mm-hmm.
The fucking Cobans should have disarmed everybody. It's their fault.
That guy's a fucking moron, though.
He's like, you cheated on me
seems
again,
like a meathead.
Adrian.
This guy's just
Rocky.
Tacit relationship.
Yeah.
Lots of depth over relationships inside of a couple of pages.
A question about
this week as well.
It's like real life.
The true Prince of No Peak bit that you have in your notes. You touched on that?
We haven't even touched my notes for the record. We ran roughshod.
But you talked about that a little bit, right?
I mentioned it, yeah, because it's the prince's stand.
Then I'll wait,
he's
then.
giving his moment is all that I mean is that he's having this moment as the true Prince of No Peak where he feels like he can, or a true Prince of No Peak where he feels like he can, embrace that sort of cultural social ladder for once and kind of see some of the winnings from that, and have an attractive girl be interested in him, not only because he's attractive and like cool, but also pull with family name, which is, in its own right, weird to say out loud, but also it's weird to not have that as someone who's a part of those families. So I kind of get it.
100%.
He's also a horny little teenager.
I feel like Junie's probably like super hot.
20-year-old. Yeah.
Join some celebrity status. Who among us wouldn't?
Yeah. So,
I would.
Sort of related to that is my question. while thinking about that and like kind of justifying hooking up with June, not justifying, but like justifying using his status in a way or profiting from his status in a way. He's like, he suspected that Jaya and Nico got laid more than him. And I thought that was so weird. Because like I was like, I've never once thought about how much my siblings got laid, and never like I would never want to think about that ever in my life. And I was like, maybe because I'm not a prince. However, I don't. It's just I was like, bro, what do you mean?
You're not a prince, so
like,
your
how down
siblings
bad
don't
is he?
get laid.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, and that feels more like a symptom of like not using it than anything else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like because he doesn't feel like he's on the same playing field with them, right? So he just thinks those kind of things, which I think all tracks. So I know we've talked a lot about Tadino. I want to shift over to our other guy at the bar here and talk a little bit about Barrow. So Barrow is obviously a big part of the scene, and he gets caught up in the moment of what Tadino believes can be the start of this next clan war. Love the little quote that we get here from him as well. At the age of 40, Barrow had come to the cynical conclusion that he'd always been a piece of detritus tossed about on the tides of fortune.
Amen.
Good luck and bad luck were two sides of the same betting chip thrown carelessly onto a cosmic games table to prolong the inscrutable amusement of the gods. And he was not the only one the gods abused. Even the pillar's son was a pawn to fate. Barrow,
he's right. He is a piece of detritus and should have been swallowed up by some bottom-feeding motherfucker. But, that's the way it goes. Garbage floats on.
Hey, at least he knows it.
True.
He's come around to that sort of sense of self-awareness. Yeah. At 40.
I know, I was like, oh man, Barrow's older than me.
This guy is fucking, it's weird to think of him as a 40-year-old.
Yeah, I still think of him as like a 18-year-old. Was he ever 18?
I know, yeah. He's always been like a teenager in my mind, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like the sad guy drinking his sorrows at the bar.
I have a hard time aging him up, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like Hilo, I feel like doesn't age as much, so it's easier. He just has I feel like he's the kind of guy, he stays relatively youthful looking, even though he has like the stress lines around him and the streets of silver now. So I feel like everyone else I can kind of picture aging up, but Barrow just always is that broken-faced teenager to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting too, because they do describe the broken face as aging him up, as that like being something that makes him appear older because he is disfigured. But as such, as a 40-year-old, he's just kind of stuck in it. But he decides, I think at the very least, the way that I read the scene is that Barrow does decide and almost warns them, gives as much probably forewarning as he could, coming to the conclusions of what was actually going to happen and their consequences, and realizing, that maybe he can throw the game a little bit. But unfortunately, too little, too late.
I didn't really read it that way. I read it as taunting, like realizing it was too late for him to escape, and that's when he decides to warn him that they got played. Because it's right as they're running in. It's right at the time.
Yeah, but Barrow doesn't hear that, or like, you know what I mean? Like Barrow he's not contemplating that as a part of it.
I don't know.
Yeah, I thought he was actually trying to help him.
Yeah, I think he was also trying to help him as well, but Barrow is always kind of condescending to everybody.
Yeah.
So it does, even though he is taunting him, even as he's softly trying to help him.
I think it was feeling bad.
It was specifically the line of strange kinship because he shot down his uncle. I think that's what gets me to the belief is that he feels this connection to him and is like, okay, maybe. And that's why ultimately he decides to he doesn't have to say anything at any point. Like all that Tadino wants him to do is stand there and make sure they don't leave. And the choice to not do that, I think, is my point of, I believe he was trying to intervene.
Okay.
But like softly. He wasn't like fully committed. Yeah. He was like, hey, she's messing with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like he could have ran in there and been like, hey man, get the fuck out of here.
Right.
If he was actually gonna help.
Yeah. But Kobin Ashi shows up and he's just a man on fire as predicted, breaks the stool, of course. And to me, that is the thing that I was watching in this whole scene when the fight is going on, is when he breaks the leg off the stool. I was like, oh God, is the stool leg going to come in, or the 3 stools? Is someone going to get impaled? That's where my brain went when originally reading this scene, was like something bad is going to happen because of the stool, which, keeps it's like a magic trick. It keeps your eye off the knife that you knew was there because he has to pull it out to issue the clean bladed duel.
I have a dumb question. Is Man on Fire an expression? I thought it was just the Denzel movie.
It is an expression.
It is an expression.
I had never heard that besides the Denzel movie.
It's an espresso.
It's a gutter.
You're all fired.
Espresso.
You guys were not pronouncing.
It did sound like
Governor.
I said gutter. I heard gutter. I had a speech impediment. I was kicked out of speech therapy for spelling too
Stop
well.
making fun of Thomas.
I'm making fun of you.
That's a real story. I was kicked out of speech therapy
Say
as a
sixth.
kid. Sixth. If I say it really slow, I can.
Sixth.
Someone say
Sixth.
burglary for me, and then I can say
Burglary?
it correctly. Burglary.
Burglary.
Burgle.
All right.
I did a whole
cut.
fucking season on heists, and I was trying to say burglary all the time, and I can't fucking say it.
Good work.
Cross, when you said impaled, I thought of like up the butt, like
Obviously.
Ooh.
no, but like
Ooh.
Red Rising, asshole.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh,
Not like
Yeah.
sexually.
You're talking about Fear Night.
Jesus fucking Christ, Aaron.
All right.
You're not get it, asshole.
Nobody thought you meant sexually.
So we
Just
talked a lot about the duels.
Mhm.
We talked a lot about the duels and kind of the course of the duel. Rue is really just killing it. Like it's a no contest, even though this guy's a gangster. Not really a problem. There's a couple of swings that he gets in, but really there's not a whole lot. He almost makes it away unscathed, of course. But Tadino really explains the ire of the clanless, I think, really well here for the first time in a long time, and gives it meaning beyond Barrow's just sort of petty revenge that we've otherwise heard, and especially from someone who's branded. It just kind of, I don't know. I think it sings in an interesting way, of course, that gets, put to rest after this. But at the very least, I
all his
appreciate that.
issues, Tadino is a true believer in his cause.
Mm-hmm. All right. So they go through the duel. Tadino, attempts to surrender. Rue won't stop, won't be made a fool of, because you don't fuck with any call. And this is his moment to kind of prove that, of course. And we get the quote from Barrow as we flip that page, like Ben had mentioned earlier. Barrow had seen many terrible things in life, but what happened next would never leave his memory. Tadino, panicked, believing he would be beaten to death, tried frantically to push off Rue, shoving at his chest and hips. The bartender's hand fell upon the loosened talent knife sheath in Rue's waistband. In a flailing, fateful instant, he seized the hilt of the weapon and slashed wildly at the man on top of him. The talon knife caught Rue across the neck, and the fine steel opened the side of his throat. With astonishment, Rue clutched his neck and toppled over onto his side, his mouth opening and closing.
Not great.
Hearing that again, yeah, I don't think that would have happened without Rue ignoring the concession.
Yeah. This is sort of, to me, I think this death is not only indicative of the lack of concession, but as such, I think it places pretty firm blame on Greenbone culture because of the idea that, like, you don't fuck with any call, as though that name is the thing to protect, and that honor with the family, and like the way that all layers on top of each other to lead to this moment, I think firmly places the blame, greenness on the whole, even for two non-green people.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That is interesting.
And tragic.
I think you're right because of this world, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, it's just the world. It's the culture.
Right.
It's
Well, I just mean just like family name and wanting to honor your family name isn't strictly a Greenbone thing, but in this world, it seems to be predominantly a Greenbone thing.
Yeah. I'm not talking wider honor. Right. Yeah. It's a tough moment, of course, and I have to give credit to the audiobook narrator here. We feel each fucking dreadful second of this whole thing, as I think Ben mentioned at the very beginning of this chapter, there's this positive coming up moment for a boy where we feel so much pride, and there's swelling, and there's speed, there's anticipation, and then the back 3 pages of this chapter take what feels like 20 minutes to get out of his mouth, because every little bit is so painful to deal with. Like, Ashi does a lot of bad in this moment that we witness from Barrow's perspective to right the wrongs here, right? Like, Tadino has every single bone in his arms broken one at a time, in his legs, until he snaps his neck, which just takes time.
Like, my
Junie
guy
is
can
sitting
do
there.
that, but he can't medically channel. Like, tough.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and channeling can't fix everything.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
He got
Unless
the
you're
artery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Tadino is broken so badly. Junie is just sitting there screaming, begging for her life, and then is strangled to death in minutes.
Yeah.
And that is...
Another thing to watch for a while.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's not like he's like cuts her or whatever.
Doesn't he also?
He doesn't snap her neck. She
Yeah.
suffers. Like, knowingly suffers.
And
He had already,
strangling
like,
so like
backhanded her, too.
personal, like
Yeah, and also it's like, do any of you steal to make that go
crush her windpipe.
or Twitly? Yeah, that's
Maybe he did.
It's very interesting.
Well, and a big part of me believes truly in this moment that this is him seeking vengeance for Hilo, right? And that's like,
Making her
he's
suffer,
making it
yeah.
so clear that to anyone who's observing that this was vengeance extracted for the death of Rue, not any sort of slight against him personally. And so I think that's why, despite, love or what have you, or affection, for this woman, strangles her to death. I have to say too that it is always, I appreciate when things are medically accurate, and this is something that, like, a lot of media gets wrong, is that strangling takes a long fucking time. It is noted as one of the most intimate ways to kill someone, and it takes minutes generally to collapse someone's windpipe enough to strangle them. And it's like,
out. Unless you use the strength, capital S.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's pretty disgusting. I wonder if he always wanted to kill her and he finally had a legal out.
I think there's a flavor of that in there. Sure.
This bitch keeps cheating on me.
everything she does.
But now he has a good reason or a way to kill her without consequences.
Yeah, I think that's certainly a part of it. There's not a healthy relationship to be found between the two of them, I would say. But at the same time, Cross, you brought up him enacting revenge on Hilo's behalf. And I don't know if it's so much that. I think that could be a way to read into it. And I can't argue that that's not a valid read on it. But I think that's also enacting justice against the Clanless Future movement in general, which affects his clan just as much as it does No Peak. Despite what happened to Rue.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking in anticipation of Hilo's wrath, doing it now.
I saw
and so
I saw it kind of like he's afraid of Hilo's wrath, so he's like, I'm killing these two to save myself from Hilo killing me.
Right.
Yeah, and he does say that for the Tadino one specifically, at least, that he made him suffer as part of the paying for Hilo, paying it forward. And I think you contrast it with Shay killing Marrow, who's genuine love, but that's a mercy killing, and she does it quickly. And here, because it's in theory, this guy loves
prolonged,
Junie, but it's prolonged as a way because he's an enemy of No Peak. He has to make her suffer. So you know how I am not keen to always agree with Cross, but he sold me. I'm on that same page.
Okay,
but I do think that it is also revenge because the bombing killed his dad, and he does bring that up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is also that component, definitely, to Dino's death.
Feeling used. He probably felt like an ass for playing right.
He also says he was used. Yeah,
the hand.
The way that Da is used in this world, I think it always makes things with the father hit harder. It makes them seem almost more childlike when they say he killed my Da, instead of being my father or my dad. I don't know why, but it's just it just makes it seem like more raw emotion for whatever reason.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
All right, final thing on this chapter. Dano and Barrow are both let go, but are required to tell the story to everyone they know. Dano, of course, isn't actually let go. He's brought to No Peak, but, he's effectively being let off the hook for the most part, for his part here, from Ashi's perspective. So there's a powerful line here, too, I think, as Barrow leaves, that we finally kind of get a reflection again on Barrow as a character. And he did understand with an uncommon clarity that made him want to laugh himself to death and spit in the faces of the Gonds on his way to hell. It wasn't a purposeful and powerful fortune that had always swept him along in its inexplicable currents, that trapped him in suffering, yet in the oddest moments protected him. It was insignificance. And that is so good.
Mm-hmm.
You're just a fucking cockroach, man.
Do you think Barrow tells anyone, or does he just disappear?
I think the
Sounds like
next
he
chapter
tells, yeah.
specifically, yeah,
He tells
Oh, he
policemen
does.
anonymously.
some anonymous person, right? So there's Barrow's still intertwined. This one mistake of Lon has forever tied Barrow to the fate of the Call House.
Not my pillar.
All right. With that, to the last full chapter of the week, chapter 50, Terrible Truths. Hilo wakes with a start as Andon pulls up with a car and delivers the news of Call Rue's death. On the morning of the funeral, Hilo receives the ears of Kobayashi and his fingers for their part in witnessing Rue's death. We then move to Wen's perspective for the funeral, confronting a broken Hilo when a lost prince returns to the family. So there's a slow contemplation of the terrible reality of what's occurred as we enter this chapter. Hilo wakes with a start as he notices that something is just off. Car rounds the roundabout. He sees a figure slumped in the back of the car. It's just all of these slow sort of experiences as Hilo comes to anticipate the pain that is about to be delivered. And as dumb as it sounds, the Hilo blinked moment feels like a bomb going off, right? We just get this explosion in this man's psyche of the loss once he's actually informed by Andon of the truth of Call Rue's death.
Yeah, I think part of this that hits even harder is he knows, because it's Andon, that it's going to be really devastating news, and he's still not prepared for it.
Yeah, I feel like he's doing the math. There's only so many things this could be. And then, like
One
you
of
said,
his
PJ, he's
3
still
children.
just done.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that got me more than the blinking, which is very powerful, is when he slumps against the couch.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that was the
Yeah.
moment for me too. Just the rawness of that.
This guy.
It was so tough.
Can we give Hilo a fucking break? All his brothers except for Andon dead. His son dead. It's awful.
Yeah, there's a lot here. I mean, the moment, so he slouches, of course, and then we have the blink shortly before that, but the line, the onset of agony was more intense than anything he could have prepared for, even after the deaths of his brother and his brothers-in-law. Yet a small but conscious part of his brain remembered that Wen was still asleep upstairs in their bedroom, and that knowledge alone kept him from waking her by collapsing to the ground and howling like an animal. And we've seen that twice before, and this is just a completely different level of broken, man.
That part was haunting, just thinking about him knowing, and Wen doesn't know yet.
He has to go tell her.
Has to go tell her, just like that image that conjures is just...
And he knows that she doesn't have perception, so she can't.
Right.
She has no idea. She's sleeping peacefully.
She's going to get blindsided.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything on the night and the information? Anything else?
It shows even further the trust that Hilo and Andon have built with one another.
Mm-hmm.
Andon for president.
So there's two things in this chapter that really get me. So I unexpectedly lost my sister, and it was very similar, middle of the night it was early morning type of thing where you get the notification, and just the way Hilo reacts is so real. And just so that's why Tross and I switched formats this week, because I couldn't do it.
Oh my God.
And it's just so real. The writing, it's so true to life.
Makes you think
Yeah.
Fonda maybe has experienced something that lets her see behind the curtain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a brutal brutal moment for all of the characters, and I think that's why I was even like rereading it because I didn't get the notes done yesterday while I was on the plane, and I reread it twice yesterday. Then I was doing it again this morning, and I was reading it all again to put all these notes together, and I started fucking crying again for the third time in 2 days, Fonda. God damn it. It's a perfectly written chapter to be emotionally moving, and it stings every single time.
Yep.
And from all of the different angles of grief, it's like each character brings one of the different cycles of grief, right? Mm-hmm. So like Jaya immediately shows up, and she's the angry one.
She's ready to kill everybody.
And so we get anger.
Yeah, it's beautifully written, and none of us are parents, but the grief of a child dying can't probably be compared to even the children or the siblings,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, Hilo right away is at first, he shows denial. You've got anger from Jaya. You've ultimately got bargaining that kind of happens on the behalf of Hilo again when he's actually at the grave itself, wishing that he could have done something different. You've got depression from Wen in the moment, and then you get acceptance in the end for very different reasons when Nico shows up. But this whole chapter to me is so brilliantly written because it gives us each of those things in different moments, in different chunks as we experience it with the family. As a part of that, I want to bring up, before we get to the funeral itself, the Coben family. What do we think of Councilwoman Coben speaking for the family and Hilo's choice of accepting the ears from Kobayashi and the fingers, as well as his decision not to go on a rampage?
Everyone's on both sides. Everyone's working real hard to not have a clan war again between these two.
I just don't think he has the appetite for it at this point, and it'd be nice if there was someone to blame, but that's what's so fucked about this particular situation is not, or well, I guess there kind of is, but he's already been punished, so.
Yeah, and death begets death begets death.
Right, and so.
Begats?
It would probably empty him out more to go around, start killing people.
I mean, it'd be empty. It wouldn't bring his son back, and they weren't to blame. They were also a pawn.
Right. And that's what's so tough about this.
If he's going to kill anyone, he should just go kill all the clanless future guys.
That's why Fonda is very rude for writing these 2 chapters.
She's very rude. Also, we do get, from Nico's perspective, but when they're being branded, basically saying like that's not going to help anything or something, right? Mm-hmm. When they're driving away in the car. And it's like, yeah, if they had not branded them or killed them, there wouldn't be revenge to be had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, festered for a long time.
It is the mountain's fault.
Yeah. I do appreciate the added little note here, of course, that with Tadino, so goes the clanless future movement, effectively, that this is basically the end of that as well, because everyone knows that they're on a hair trigger to turn and kill them all at this point.
And that clan war isn't so easy to incite.
Mm-hmm. Anything on the Cobens, though?
Does having 1 year mean you can't be like a political leader?
Did she cut her?
She didn't do hers
off.
Just
no.
Just
okay, she didn't
think so.
I was assuming they were put up to this by
yeah,
or like strongly instructed.
Well,
probably
and
consulted with her at least.
They don't want to live their life thinking Hilo's gonna snipe them.
That's true.
Yeah, they're just like rightfully so shook, and it also there's like the vibe that Hilo would be in the right to take vengeance.
Yeah, they didn't protect his jadeless son,
Yeah, there's that moment, I think, where they see that there's a seething rage underneath him that considers cutting them all down in one fell swoop, and then instead accepts the ears.
Scary as a greenbone to have someone who's like, is, even, Hilo's older at this point, but like, this guy is not to be fucked with. and you're putting yourself at his mercy, and you know he doesn't really have that.
Not known for his mercy.
Yeah. It must be so horrifying for them to feel that broiling within him.
Yeah.
And that's got to be even more intimidating, being able to feel the auras walking towards him. Like, not just seeing his stoic face, but just feeling his anger and his emotions through his Jade aura has to be crippling in the approach.
Yeah.
And if they have any heart, like the guilt they feel must be even more amplified.
It's hard not to imagine this day also as this like dark, dour day, right? Even though we aren't really given a description, of what the day is like. And it's raining in my mind. It's 110% raining in my mind. It's tough all around. I appreciate, of course, that we are in Hilo's perspective for this moment because we do get all of the auras, but then moving to Wen for the funeral itself is very interesting because we don't really get a sense of what those emotions look like portrayed on all of these different Green Bones auras, right? We're kind of muted to that feeling, which also leaves us estranged outside of the physical reactions of the people like we would normally perceive them ourselves, right? So like when looking at Hilo, the warmth in his eyes, his lopsided boyish grin, his magnetic energy like that of a star burning in the sky, all of it had been snuffed out like a candle. He seemed inhuman as a marble statue. And powerful stuff, especially considering those same descriptions have been used time and time again throughout this book, but that star burning in the sky is that first description that we get from when she originally falls in love with him at that dinner table and right after he leaves. Like, there's always been this energy about him, and it's gone.
All this gang shit worth it? I don't know. It kind of puts everything into perspective.
Yeah, it's like maybe you should just be nice country folk.
What really matters.
Settle down, buy a farm.
Raise llamas.
Yep.
Put them on TikTok.
I think it's also interesting, too, because it makes what happens at the end of this chapter so much more impactful. Just like he's so broken, but then by the end of the chapter, which is minutes later, it's like he goes from like broken, beaten down to powerful and resolute.
Right. Yeah. Whew. So we get another look at Call Wanria, and we can see that mirror of pain between Wanria and Wen. At the very least, Wen has gotten herself involved now, but that doesn't make the sort of kinship as the sort of quote outside woman quote being, I think, non-green now in context any less powerful, and having lost sons to this same war and conflict.
Poor Call Wanria, tough.
She's like the old grandma in Coco.
Except her whole family died.
Coco, remember me.
Spoilers for Coco. I'm just kidding.
I've never seen Coco.
It's so good.
It's
so good.
Yeah.
I've seen it more than once. That's how good it is. Hey, keep getting drunk. Watch Coco.
And cry your eyes out.
Yeah,
What?
talk
PJ, what
about
were you
crying
gonna
your
say?
eyes out. That one's emotional.
PJ, what were you going to say about Call Wan?
You
I didn't have
You
anything
mean
specific.
Coco?
So Hilo says one of the most painful things in wishing that he'd given up Rue to a different family so that he could have lived a different life. And that fucking burns, I think, the worst of most of them. That's when I start like really breaking in this chapter is that moment in which it's like, it's that bargaining. It's that desperation of wishing for something else.
And it's
What
kind of
hurt
a
about
burn
this
to win.
one? Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like
When's
all I
like-
saw was Wen being slighted through this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I knew he was just saying it out of just frustration and grief, but I was like, oh, come on, man. We don't need all that.
Yeah. I know that I've read so many fucking quotes this week between these chapters, but as he says in that moment, I encouraged him. I gave him as much freedom as I could. I made him believe that he could do great things, accomplish anything he wanted to. Lies. Whether you wear it or not, there's no freedom when you're surrounded by green. I wish he hadn't dueled. I wish he'd been a coward. Just that once.
Pain.
Pain. Yeah.
Pain.
It's like I'm only laughing because it's a Twilight reference. It's like
Do it.
what's
Do it.
Dakota Fanning. She's the bad vampire. Pain, and then that's her power. They have powers.
Oh, Dakota Fanning.
I've never seen Twilight.
One of the best she's ever looked. I'm not gonna lie to you.
She's pretty hot with red eyes.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
She was killing
scary. Pain.
I was simping. I was there. I was like, I'm not scared at all.
You're like, you can cause me pain, baby.
I can change her.
Yeah, she is hot.
So, as any good, brother-in-law might do, Woon suggests they leave as they've been standing there for a while in what feels like the pouring rain in the middle of a cemetery next to the graves of Lon and all of the other calls. And they turned, and we see Nico, having returned, changed from his 3 years, striding back. He walks up to the grave, kind of first and foremost, and says, "I'm sorry, Rue. I should have been here for you. We should have gone to college together. I was wrong about so many things. I'm just so damned sorry." Nico returning.
Is Nico cool now?
He kind of got a new vibe to him.
Yeah, he has a new edgy vibe.
I don't hate it.
And I was like,
but
I'm
cool
intrigued.
edgy.
Yeah.
Commits war crimes once.
And-
He's a new man.
And where he quit the whatever club, the
Santos.
Jim
GSI.
Santos club,
Yams,
and then he
Yams
what was just no one knew where he was for a year.
Yeah, he's just been traveling
Yeah,
there.
for 10 months.
Yeah.
What's he been doing?
I don't
Been
know.
off?
Therapy, hopefully.
I'm
This
curious
part-
if Hilo knows exactly where he's been.
I think
Through.
Hilo knows more than when, at least.
Yeah.
Like, maybe not exactly, but I feel like he knows.
He certainly knows about the war crime.
Yeah. He has that in HD.
Yeah.
I will say the Nico thing got me the most.
Mm-hmm.
And it's again very real and very tough.
Yeah. It's tough to deal with, and I think especially this morning when I was going through the notes, I was so shook that when I wrote my next note, I actually put Rue's name in instead of Nico's. I was like, all right, just get through it. Just get it done. And totally didn't double check. But it's one of those things too where you just have this whole backstory from Jade War at this point of them being with each other and being that sort of protector and the little brother older brother relationship, and then to see now it feels like he's missing an arm almost, even though we're kind of limited in what we've seen in total. It sucks. To close out the chapter, Wen slaps Nico just shortly before he offers up the clean oaths to Hilo and asks to be his son again, as he begins to whip out his talon knife quickly and slice his ear. Hilo grabs it, stops him, and says, "You never stopped being my son. We all make mistakes. Sometimes terrible mistakes we can barely live with, but we learn from them. And maybe we can forgive each other."
So, did the ear come off, or did he catch it?
Sounds like
No.
it stopped on the way down.
He just got the top.
So,
Yeah.
an ear you couldn't just go. You have to saw it off or
Just-
something.
Just let it happen. Just let it happen.
No, it would be just one stroke, but basically as soon as Hilo saw it go, he's Jade Warrior. He caught
Touched
it.
He
got
touched
super speed.
blade to ear. Got a little slice going because they keep those things sharp.
I just didn't know how much of the ear was.
Sounds like it's
Hanging.
gonna be
No, I
okay.
think it's just
They-
enough to get blood.
Yeah.
Not
He stapled
halfway,
it back on.
Stapled.
like in boxing.
Medical staples.
Mhm. No, I know, but
So, do you think this comment from Hilo tells Nico that he knows about what happened?
I think
I took
that-
it as the mistake was leaving.
Okay.
I also took it as the mistake wasn't just leaving, but it was his mistake of killing his mom. I think that it was all.
Yeah,
I think that
was
there's a
gonna say,
lot of encompassing emotions in this moment.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Mm. He's apologizing and forgiving him in one.
I'm not used to
Yeah.
Hilo feeling regret.
He's saying forgive each
I
other.
was-
Killing people.
Yes.
Mhm.
You know, so-
Interesting.
I think he at the same time he's saying I forgive you and asking for forgiveness.
For the mistakes
I'm
I
even
made.
more
Yeah.
proud of Hilo.
Yeah.
I was already
Yeah.
very proud of him, and moved by him and his growth. That's deep.
Yeah,
That's deep.
he's not pinning this on his son in this moment. He's not pinning this on Nico in the moment. He's opening it up and saying, as a wider thing, not just you and me. This is more of a general lesson of forgiveness and how you approach these things.
Good job, Hilo.
He's all grown up.
All right. Anything else on the funeral of Rue?
It's sad, but I'm glad Nico did the right thing and came back.
Return like Jen.
Who's Jen? Does it win?
He who returned.
He who returned.
Who is Azora High? I meant to ask this. I forgot to add it to my notes because I thought of it. But I meant to ask this in, I think, chapter 47 when Hilo kneels before Ait. And it's related to this. And I think before Nico left and Hilo forgave him, do you think he would have been willing to go to Ait like that, like he does for Shay?
I think so. What do you think?
Probably.
I don't think he had a choice.
Do we know?
Okay.
I think going to
as a
Ait
sign
was
of
kind
growth,
of the only way this could have happened, regardless of his own sort of stances on things.
Okay. All right. That brings us to our last section of the week, the third interlude, the Charge of the 20. Our last interlude of the series, we did our second look at Tall Doucheron, this time a little more indirectly as we learn of the Charge of the 20, a heroic but deadly charge led by Tall Dew against a heavily fortified Chitarian base. Though he and his men lost their lives, their sacrifice paved the way for the One Mountain Society to take the military base and for the country to break free of Chitarian occupation. A really interesting interlude, just from a history standpoint. And it was just like really cool. Wish we'd waste more time talking about it.
Yeah, I like this interlude.
Same.
Learned about Daddy Dew.
Also, the idea of strapping on 4 times as much Jade as you should. I don't know. I'm trying to think of how this could apply going forward and what sort of situation we might find ourselves in.
Let me ask you something. Did it already apply going backwards a little bit here? Because, so a couple things that we have had, I think, to an extent, happened before. We did the cutting of the tongues from a mission they think they wouldn't return from, which Hilo and his fists do when they're planning to avenge Lon's death. And then Shay gives them the non-suicidal plan. The second, and I think if you have to squint a bit, but the taking the Jade and giving it to the stronger fighter reminded me of Andon taking all of Hilo's Jade and using it to kill Ash and his men.
That's fair.
It was pretty badass. And if they're all going to die anyways, and if me taking your Jade makes me as good as 2 people, then you're losing less lives in the long run. It's just, it seems smart.
Imagine those, I don't want to call them, I don't want to empathize for them too much, but those poor shotties. Just literal gods descending upon them.
Yeah, imagine the green bones, though. You're just like in pure ecstasy right before you die. It's like, fuck yeah, I'm all powerful. Ah.
How do you feel as one of the 60 that got their Jade taken from them?
It's just a tough look.
Like, do you feel proud for contributing, or do you feel like
do you get your Jade back because they all died and
they
ultimately
buried
won
with the Jade that they took from you?
I don't know, man.
I'd
There's
be
also
like, sure,
weird,
take
like,
it.
Yeah.
I think because it's a time of war, there's probably less of that honorific thing going on. But just as a person, you got to be a little like, damn, like the 21st person. He's probably like, oof, tough. Should have been me. Probably would have lived if they picked me.
Number 21 and number 80, right? Like both are in.
I feel like 80's like
shit.
80 knows. 21's like, this is because Tall Dew had a grudge with me. He liked the same girl in grade school. Ever since, he's been like, fuck this guy.
Was it called Rhea?
And then this might just be me misreading things. I always interpreted the Tall Dushan Academy as being a symptom of the split between Ait and Tall Sen, and that they built that, like, yes, to honor Tall Du, but also kind of because they needed a second Greenbone facility. And then here it's like, Ait Udantin's like, we're going to build this to honor Tall Du, and it happens before the split.
Or does this cause the split? Is it one and the same? Like,
No.
they disagree
No.
with how... No?
Definitely does not cause the split.
You could argue, like, maybe if Tall Du was around, he would have been able to prevent the split because he's more of a, like, maybe he would have been able to talk his father down or something. And we see clearly that this is the beginning of making Tall Sen broken.
Yeah, this definitely isn't the cause of the split between the two. That was the decision regarding Jade in general that's caused the clans to split. But this is, if anything, to me, this is more of a like,
it's like they're boys. Because Ait Udantin speaks at the funeral, because Tall Sen can't.
Right.
Which,
Okay.
you
Quote, give me 2 seconds.
at the very least, Hilo can kind of speak at Maru's funeral.
Wish you hadn't brought it there. That's tough. Now I'm depressed.
The comment about Khal Du's broken body being hung from the top of the fortress was
kind of tough.
I had to rewind it to make sure I heard it properly. I'm like, oh no.
I feel like that didn't hit me. And that might just be because of, like, history and Braveheart. Like, that just felt like you have to, like, that's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's normal.
But it's still
it is sad.
for
It
the
must have been
kids.
tough for his family.
Yeah.
It is tough.
For all,
Yes. So, I have the quote here. At Khal Du's belated state funeral, his grief-stricken father declined to speak, asking his comrade Ait Udantin to do so in his place. Good men are remembered with love by their friends, declared the Spear of Teton. Great warriors are remembered with awe by their enemies. Struck me as kind of a fucked up thing to say at a funeral. I don't know. I don't know if that hit how we wanted.
Yeah, I agreed. I was like,
They're all warriors, though, so it speaks, and they just won a war.
Just be a
Went through
soft,
war.
modern Greenbones.
Seems like something Khal Sen would appreciate. He's a war guy.
Yeah, and they were
Big
fighting
war
for something
guy.
greater than they freed their country. And it's like, his children don't remember him, so he is correct.
Mm-hmm.
And the Shadis are afraid of Tall to this day.
Shawty's like a melody in my head.
God, I knew it was coming. It was in my head too.
Oh shit.
You ever see something spring to life on someone's face? I've watched that happen.
Who sings that?
Nice.
Is that like OG first Jason Derulo? One of his first hits?
No way. He's been around.
That's
Couldn't
all
be.
I'd have for this week.
Fantastic. All right. Well, we've got 2 pieces of closing thoughts here. We got the classic, Who Won the Week?
I am once again unprepared to answer.
God, you know it's coming.
I
Barrow.
always forget.
Barrow. Grudgingly.
We banned him from winning after the
I don't know who else we can say.
contemplated rape.
Nico, I guess.
Hilo kind of.
We had a lot
Hilo
of loss.
went through a
Oh,
lot.
I know who won. I know. Pick me. Vin.
Aaron.
Aaron.
Who do you think?
Oh, Sniper.
Vin?
Sniper
Yeah.
dude.
Mm.
Fucking killed it,
Mm.
literally.
Nico
I think Ait won.
came back. He's got a new look. He's an edgelord now.
Yeah.
Cool
To me, I
edgelord.
feel like a cool edgelord. All of those. He's
So
just
Barrow's
graduated
the
post.
uncool edgelord. Nico's
Yeah.
the cool edgelord.
Just post Molgoth.
Well, Nico was always an edgelord, but he was kind of annoying edgelord for a while
Mm.
there. Now he's a cool edgelord.
Could we say that Dudo
Edge
wins the week for
Lord.
going to therapy?
I was saying gutter, Aaron.
Dudo for therapy? All right. I could take Dudo for therapy.
That's a good. That's a good call.
Yeah. Truly, I think no one won the week. I think
Yeah, this
everyone
is-
fucking lost.
It was a pretty tough
Yeah.
one.
We certainly
I
didn't
think Ait
win.
won.
We certainly didn't. win.
No, we lost. What did Ait didn't lose? Anything.
She
I gained.
gained a friend.
She paid off a debt. Yeah.
And you got to think the Tobins are even more like in their place because they can't afford to do anything crazy now. Right?
Mhm.
Like she already took them to task, and then they fucked up even worse.
All right, cool. I'm in on those. The final thing that I want to ask, of course, is a little bit different. We know that we've told you that this is the final interlude of the book, right? So it means we're approaching part 3. This is the full-on, or part 4, rather. This is the full-on end of the novel. We only have 2 episodes remaining. I just want to ask kind of generally, I'm not going to hold you to anything crazy like a prediction, but where do you think the story goes? What do we have left that you want to see resolved?
I think they all become friends and hold hands, and everything is happy and hunky-dory from here on out.
Thomas, you stole mine.
Gord.
Oh, sorry.
Unironically, I'm going to make an argument for that. I think we're going to reveal that the Espenians on that island have nefarious plans for the clans, and the clans will come together, and much like that charge of 20 will drive the Espenians out of their country and go back to the One Mountain Society. I don't know.
Can I take your words and run with them?
Yeah.
You're predicting Espenians invade.
Well, there's something happening. There's some deal with the Espenians on that island, right? That the
do you think my friends Dallo and Birdland come back up? I hope so. I don't remember
I hope
at
so
all.
too.
I think that Mata is gonna betray all of our trust in some scenario and kill someone. One of the calls, we're gonna be like, "What the fuck?" And then we're gonna come down from the mountain and kill her back, and then make peace with the Cobins. They take over, and then we're happy. Moving forward, the future looks bright.
I do feel like Hilo's going to die by the end of the book.
I just think we're too warm and fuzzy towards Mata right now, and she's a bad guy. She needs to show that she's still a bad guy.
Got it.
I liked what PJ was putting down, though. But do you think there's something going on there? We could get a charge of 20 or a coming together of some sort.
Let's pick more than 20.
We'll see.
They have a
That
lot
is
of
why
Jade now, so
Yeah. That is, for the record, why we included this on this week, was because this is the predication of, where we're going, what's going on for this final section.
I have a
All right.
question.
Yeah.
Based sort of on that. So when Shay goes to the mining facility, there's like a safe distance you have to be away from the Jade, right? The uncut Jade, at least. So if they were, which I don't think they would because it's too valuable and critical to their culture, but could they use Jade as like a bioweapon almost and like drop it into places and just, I guess it's too limited a range. I was just thinking like weaponized Jade just like fucking people up, giving them the itches.
Pulverize it.
And just dust it and
Aerosolize
airdrop
it.
Damn.
We know that works.
I accidentally committed a war crime this week.
Turns out you did.
Next week is our 8th and penultimate episode, just like the penultimate peril from a series of unfortunate events, tackling chapters 51 through 57.
So
notes.
So that's where we'll leave you for this week. But before we, say other things, the song, by the way, is Replay by Ayaz. In case anyone was wondering. Also, iPod forever immortalized is like the second lyric of that song. So rip iPods. So that's where we'll leave you for this week.
Thank you, as always, to Tim and Andrew for helping us make the show happen. Check out the links in the show notes where you can find our Patreon, previous episodes, websites, social media accounts, all in one easy, convenient location.
I know what Aaron's going to say. I just know it. I know what Aaron's going to say.
Rate and review us 5 stars only. If you don't give us 5 stars only, then we'll strangle you to death.
That's pretty bad.
That's it.
I was thinking Jade Bath.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you wanted me to say, I was trying to say what you didn't want me to say, because that's who I am as a person.
That's fair.
I was going to say break all your arms and legs.
We'll secretly plot
Ooh.
to
Take
have
over
you
your island.
have us case of kind of mistaken identity.
We'll get you a
Trouble.
make out, but then you die with blue
We'll
balls.
send,
Yep.
a bad bitch.
Make out and a
Send
little
her
bit of
your
hand
way.
stuff, and then you die with blue balls.
So just
no.
do 5 stars and
Woo.
Avoid
And
that.
gasping like a fish.
Much easier that
Oh.
way.
Brutal. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
I don't know if we'll see them. I think they'll
let's
hear
go
us.
get donuts.
Fuck.